Oh, crap. Somebody's calling me. We're not doing it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I learned to stay strong. Concrete in the dirt I was raised on. Know how to put in work. Grinding all day, you know it's game on. My skin is thick, yeah, it's tough. Running, yeah, we stay alive. Ain't gotta look nowhere else.
Episode 3. Thanks to Dave, we have a title.
Yes, we do.
That was pretty good. Socializing with a social media guru. We're here with Jamy Smith, who in 2007 had moved his way down into Florida land and then had gotten working in the corporate world and then decided had enough.
Well, got laid off.
Got laid off.
Definitely helped the decision.
That had enough?
Yes.
Okay. So then started a Clay social media group. I love the name.
I'm the group.
You are the group. For now.
For now.
We speak it. For now.
Throw it out there, it happens.
Hey, we were just talking about it with Al Limerick. What was the verbiage I was using?
There was a lot that day. I'm trying to think of which part we're talking about.
That's okay. It'll come back. It wasn't affirmation. It was speaking it out, and there's something about positive affirmation verbally.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't speak the negative as out in the open. Try not to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm human. So we're here with Jamy Smith of Clay Social Media Group for episode 3.
Big 3.
This is number 3.
To me, this is one of my most exciting. So I knew Al Emmerich. He was like a warm-up.
You knew Al for years.
For years. But what a dynamic guy. And the vibes he puts off is just electric.
It was awesome to see here.
Yeah. And I mean, he's witty, he's quick, but he's also old, So
He's a little bit older than we are.
yeah, he's old. Isn't he like 60?
58, he said.
61?
58.
Okay. He'll never watch
I
this.
got you, Al.
No, he'll never watch this. You don't have to worry about it. So this is what I get excited about. This is the next generation. So you had worked corporately for how many years?
Whole life. Since, probably 1999.
So who your first job, you don't have to name names. You can, whatever.
Yeah, so I, first job, a huge, massive recruitment company.
So you jumped right into recruiting.
Right into recruiting. Graduated high school in 1998. Boom, 1999, jumped into recruiting. And taught me a huge lesson on what to do, what not to do in corporate America. You don't show up in t-shirt and shorts. You gotta,
Especially back then.
I had to wear a suit and tie every single day.
I mean, did they even have casual Fridays back then? Yeah.
No, and it was one of those jobs where if your regional vice president or somebody came to town, you rolled out the red carpet all day long. And I was there for my first 3 months. I thought I was going to quit every single day for those first 3 months. Hated it. And after
because of the stress or
the stress, the hours, the ass kissing, all of it.
Mm-mm.
Couldn't stand it.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it was your epitome of corporate America. And after 3 months, something just clicked. I don't know what it was. It wasn't that I just decided, boom, I love corporate America. I want to be part of this. But in the job that I had, I liked the fact that I was helping people find employment to better themselves, better their family, help feed their family, pay their bills.
Because that takes some of them you walk with for months, right?
Absolutely.
As they're looking. So you get to know their families, their kids.
Well, and the positions that I was working on, they were high dollar, white collar positions. And so it might be like a headhunter type situation where
my sister's in this world. She works with the Deco.
Okay. Yeah.
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 So she fires all the CEOs.
That sounds like an amazing job.
Oh, she's really good at it. She intimidates. She's like 5'2" and intimidates me. Yeah. Anyways, go back. Sorry.
No, so I just decided I liked what I did, and because I liked what I did, it came out in how I interacted with the companies that I was working with, the candidates I was working with, and ended up staying with this company for 7 years, and moved up. I was 25 years old as a what they called a metro market manager, and I was responsible for 5 offices in Metro Detroit, and I was running a $15 million P&L.
Best
25.
recruiting tool.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
I know. Best.
It's changed.
That's
so
true.
much.
That's very true.
I mean, in my opinion, best recruiting tool is the networking that you do.
Because
especially
birds
with
of a
high-dollar
feather-
positions.
Yeah. Birds of a feather flock together.
Exactly. And over the years, it's changed from using sites like Indeed and stuff like that to actual recruitment marketing, which is what I transitioned into later in my career. So went from just the specific recruitment side to actually doing recruitment marketing.
So about what year was that? Because that's interesting. Because that's about the start of the social media boom of recruitment. I mean, Indeed was taking off, and I'd used them to recruit out of, and I didn't have as much success. But mine were a little bit more entry level, and I wasn't dealing with y'all. So what year did you start on that?
That was probably big time into it was just in 2020. And that's when I joined a company called Ronstad, and I was responsible for the recruitment marketing efforts for companies like Allstate, Prudential, Boston Scientific, and it was my job to work with teams that built out their corporate communication strategy around recruitment and then promoted their employment brand so that people wanted to come and work for them.
So did you find, did you find yourself helping them build the brand for the marketing side?
It was building the brand for the recruitment side.
The recruitment side.
It was basically creating a philosophy around making them an employer of choice for people to seek them out to come and work for them. And you think about huge brands like Allstate. I mean, that's a household name.
Yeah.
However, in the insurance space, you have a ton of insurance companies.
Yep.
So what makes someone want to specifically choose to work at Allstate versus Nationwide? And so that was my team's job, was to come up with that strategy to make someone want to choose that brand over another brand to work for in the insurance space.
How often, because so you had worked your way up to about 5 locations.
Mm-hmm.
So how far apart were they? I'm going somewhere. I love this.
Yeah.
So like 100 miles, or was it driving or was it flying?
No, it was driving. So
Okay.
It was all in Metro Detroit area.
Okay,
from like
gotcha.
anywhere from like Ann Arbor to Detroit up to Flint.
Gotcha.
So
8 Mile ain't so bad. Stop it. Let me tell y'all something, kid. Hey, let me tell you something. Y'all come on down to Jacksonville.
Just because Jamie looks like a gangster.
Let me tell you something. I'll take you for a ride on the east side of Jacksonville. I drove up and down 8 Mile. Another side, other than a beat up highway, I don't know. In all fairness, it was a Sunday morning, and I didn't turn right or left off of 8 Mile. So I wasn't
What
on
do those
that.
back roads look like, Brett?
I don't know. Can tell you over here in Jayville, though.
I mean, there's some little streets in Green Cove I want to walk through on a Saturday night. So
Yeah. You know what's funny is I used to drive and Dave can attest to this. I used to drive no, you weren't around for that. I used to drive an all white mini Astro van.
No, that was before
Okay.
me.
And so then we would paint them canary yellow, and we'd put wood you furniture on them. And I mean, I didn't own this, but they would have 18-wheelers and the trucks. They all looked the same, trying to grow a little bit and be a brand. And it was cool. But I didn't want the yellow because I would go to my stores. I had a bunch of stores I would watch and franchisees, and I didn't want to be seen across the street. And
the yellow, they saw you coming from wherever.
from a mile away. So I had a white one. It had no windows. I loved it. And I would travel all over the place. And I would go on the east side. We had a warehouse down off of 8th Street, 2 blocks off of Main Street on not 8th Street, Liberty Street, 2 blocks off of Main Street. And so, I would get into the warehouse about 6 o'clock in the morning, And I would come flying around the corner about 20 miles an hour in that white van. And, they all think it's 5-0 and all,
Scatter.
nah, they ain't running. They know how to move, and they I respect them. And it was funny because as you spend time, people are people.
Mm-hmm.
They really are. I love that side of town. I really do. The people there, I hired locally. When I took over that distribution center, there were 37 men that were local, that rode their bikes up there, rode a bus up there, and to weed through the ugly part of, what had been going on in that warehouse, because there was ugliness, there was hate, there was mistrust from company to the employee and employee to company, and it was not corporate.
Yeah.
This was like East Side, not East Side. Well, excuse my French, I don't know which, but it was, they were good men though. I got them up to a livable wage, and amazing things happened. I didn't needle them to the very bottom dollar.
Yeah.
I fought for them to get a livable wage back then. And then I made certain positions attain desirable through, you got certain accommodations. If you were one of my high checkers and you could check stuff on, you didn't have to load and unload and carry all that heavy stuff. And however elementary that was to the world that watches this, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this, because that's the foundation that built what makes people's motors turn.
Oh yeah.
Because you had to be quick, because you're a results driven industry right there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, how often? What was the length? The 3-month contract, 6 month?
It all depends. I mean, some of the positions would be just project roles. Some would be full-time, internal, permanent, high-level positions. And, you'd have a client they'd be working with, and they would say, for this role, I only want to talk to 3 people, so you better make sure you give me the best of the best. And if you don't, I'm moving on to the next agency.
Yep.
So,
because it's a very competitive market.
Super competitive.
Yeah.
Super competitive.
Relationship building.
Yeah, and surprisingly, for the 7 years that I was working there, I just got tired. I got tired, and I take that back. I was tired, but it was one of those jobs where you're young, you're making a shit ton of money.
Yep.
But you start to hate it,
because every month it's like,
well, and it's one of those philosophies of everybody's always asking, well, you had a great month. What are you and your team's going to do for us this month? And so it was always, you had to do more and more, and you had to put pressure on people. And, I'm more of
changes you, doesn't it?
It does. And, you start to become a person that you don't recognize anymore. And I worked for
task oriented, not people oriented.
And that's what it was like. That's what it was like. It was what level of profit are you going to get this branch or your 5 branches to do for the company? Because
they forget. Everybody wants to make more money. We all do. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not a sin.
No.
But it's how do you get there?
Yeah.
And the older generation, and God bless them, they built this country to be pretty powerful, pretty greedy, but pretty powerful. And a whole lot about me.
Yeah.
And our generation bit into it. But this next generation that's coming isn't biting into it. They're adjusting. How homeowners, they don't care to own a home. My kids is an entrepreneur, and I've had a great life, but they don't care to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
They care to find their niche and find their peace, and I like that.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good.
They're more about work-life balance. They want to do the work that inspires them, that they feel good about. It's not.
And why not?
Exactly.
You talked to me a few times about they don't want to own their own business anymore either.
No.
Well, what's shocking to me though is that's what led me to starting Clay Social Media Group.
I was just about to say, it's like a girl or a relationship. You find them when you're not looking for them.
Yep. Well, and I started it out of necessity because I had gotten laid off.
Right.
However, I wanted to run my own business because of every single job that I've ever had. I didn't want to work for anyone anymore.
I
didn't want to have to go and, ask whoever my boss was, hey, do you think I could have a week off? Do you think is that going to be okay? And then if you get it, well, are you taking your laptop? Are you going to have your cell phone with you?
Can you check your emails for me?
Yeah, we need you to get on a video call while you're on vacation. And it wasn't a will you? It's you're
expected it.
You're gonna do it. Yeah, you're gonna do it. And when I was working back at, it was called Robert Half International. That was my big first employer I was at for 7 years. And what broke me was I reported to a regional vice president. I referred to her as the devil. That was my little term of endearment for her. And I remember when I was diagnosed with cancer at 25. I remember going to the doctor's appointment to sit down and get my results. It was on my lunch break.
What?
On my lunch break, and I was.
You're working. Hang on a second. You're working the day you go to get your results.
Oh yeah, it was like
you're
a
not
Tuesday.
sitting at home preparing mentally. Day. I don't know.
I had like morning meetings all morning. I was having one-on-ones with the branch managers who reported to me across the 5 branches I was responsible for. And I'm trying to get out of the meeting to rush to the doctor's appointment to get the results because I know I have to rush back for everything else in the afternoon. So I'm sitting in the doctor's office. And for those of you who have gone through cancer, you know that when it comes time to get the results, it's an out-of-body experience. Absolutely out-of-body experience. You're looking.
Does it
and
slow
listening.
down?
Oh, yeah. Everything's muffled. You're basically looking at yourself from like 10 feet above. And you can't hear anything as soon as they say the word cancer. And so I got the diagnosis, and they were talking about, what was going to have to happen over the next, 6, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. And thankfully, it was caught early. So I just had to go through radiation to shrink it, then chemotherapy, and then surgery. But I go back to my office. My RVP, the devil lady,
right,
was there because
I like this.
My meeting, once I got back, my first meeting was going to be with her. So I walk into the meeting. She's already waiting in my office.
Come on.
I'm late, so she's pissed. She's pissed because I'm like 10 minutes late. And she knows that I was at a doctor's appointment.
But your life,
yeah.
She knows what it's. Hang on a
She-
second. No, she knows why you're at the doctor's appointment.
For me to be able to step out of work, even on my lunch, even though I'm running a $15 million P&L, you got to tell her what it was.
Oh, wow.
So she knew everything that was going on.
Wow.
So I come in, I'm all frantic, but I'm still, I'm not,
Sure.
I'm not all there in my
It
head.
hadn't settled.
No. And all I could think about was work.
Yeah.
Like I was petrified inside about what I was just told, but I was even more petrified about work. So I walk in.
So hang on. So your work was carrying more weight than the cancer you had just heard.
Yes. That was. Could you imagine that at 25 years old?
No.
That's what I still look back on like, holy shit.
Did you have somebody that you could call and talk to, like a mentor of any kind?
No, at that time in my life, when I wasn't working, I was working out, and Thursday through Sunday, I was going to the bars and drinking and dancing and having fun. And so, yeah,
Figuring it out on your.
Yes.
Yeah. The school of hard knocks.
We'll talk about parents and stuff, but I didn't grow up with the parents to guide me and, give me good advice and all. I didn't have that. So I walk into my office, devil lady's all pissed off, sitting there, she's huffing and puffing, and I sit down. She immediately goes into her list of crap that she wants to talk about. I'm not engaging because the moment I sat down and my brain started to stop, that's when I started to think about what just happened. So I'm in complete silent mode.
So now you don't hear her. Now you're replaying what's going on in the.
Yep. And
is it making sense now? The cancer side? Are you starting to?
I'm like I
it's starting to come back to.
It is. I was starting to feel myself. I started to feel like almost an anxiety attack coming on.
Sure.
And so I didn't say a word as she's just blabbing on about stuff. And all of a sudden she stops and she puts her pen down really heavily on the table and she goes, "You're not engaging with me. And everything I'm talking to you about is incredibly important. I need you to talk.
But she didn't once ask you how your appointment went?
No. And so
nothing?
that's when I said, okay, let's talk.
And you dumped that cancer on it.
I did. And I thought for sure, as soon as I said that, I thought for sure, she sat back in her chair and I thought, holy shit, I'm going to get a real person now.
Now right. Empathy and understanding and
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Wow.
What I got was the monster inside of her. So after she let me talk and I told her, you know, what I was just told, what was going to happen. And I assured her, because I figured, well, she might just go crazy on me right now. I don't know. But I said, I'm going to assure you, I'm not going to go on FMLA. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be here. I'm going to work through everything that I'm having to do. And as soon as I said that, she said, good, because I'm really sorry about your personal situation. Really sorry. But I need you to guarantee me that your personal situation is going to have zero impact on the business that you are running.
impossible.
And in that very moment, that's when I decided, as soon as I go into remission, I am done. I can't quit now because I need my health insurance, right?
Smart man.
But the moment I go into remission, I am going to deliver my notice to her. And that's exactly what I did. 16 weeks later, working 55 to 60 hours a week, I would have my treatments on the weekend. I would come in Monday morning, still sick, puking in the bathroom, you know, trying to hide it from everybody around me, at least at work, because, you know, even people who reported to me, which I feel like I'm a pretty supportive leader, but back then it was cutthroat. And so you had people vying for your position.
You had some people hoping that you would make a mistake.
Or that I would go out on
miss your mark
FMLA.
for 3 months in a row, or and then go on a
Exactly.
family leave and give them 3 weeks to show what they can do.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, you know, hey, why do I need Jamie?
So when I delivered my notice, then she was shocked. Why? You've been here for 7 years. You've grown your career. You're making great money. You're doing a really good job. Why would you leave?
Hang on a second. Stop right here. This is the Matrix. They have no concept of what really makes a human tick any more than the politics as to why Trump blew out when they really don't have their finger on the pulse.
No.
And they don't know how to get there, most of them. And it's not just empathy. It's not just, oh, you have cancer. It's understanding how that is going. It's what you know me, Dave. I'm a realist. It's going to have an impact. Guys used to tell me all the time, because would you distributors had grown to, I don't know, whatever it had grown up to. And so we were hiring all the time and doing recruiting and things. Now, back then it was the 80s and we're a blue collar company. So we would do like the little events and the tables and we'd sit out there. And I was pretty good at chit chatting. And so in human dynamics, I could read. And at our pay rates, we were lower end. You had a little bit more of a pick of the litter. He did not. Dave has seen how I've worked with some, and I've been blessed. But we would sit there and recruit, and the men and women that would come in, they just didn't last.
Yeah.
Because I was going to find them, and they weren't finding me. And so figuring out how to get them to want to come to us, I began to look at it like fishing. I don't know. Recruitment can be really fun, but the stress side of it, because I looked into that industry, I wanted no part of it.
Yeah. It's tough. It is. It's a dog eat dog world, and it still is. I have friends who are still in it, and they've been doing it for 15, 20 years.
So I got sidetracked, and I'll bring us back. So the idea was that she can't see why someone would want to leave because of the health benefits and the finances and they don't understand that money isn't the ultimate factor, because that old adage of if you find what you love, the money will follow.
Yeah.
If you have staying power. I think that's the key part.
And back then in corporate America, there was no thought of company culture. It was, you do what you're told, when you're told to do it, and you either perform at a high level or you're kicked out. There was no, second guessing anything. And so, part of it is I actually feel a little bit of empathy for the devil lady, because I'm sure that when she first got into corporate America herself, she probably wasn't the devil lady at that point. She had a boss that she learned how to
There it is.
how to be like this.
There it is.
And so therefore that's what she turned into. And, there wasn't empathetic leaders back then.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And so when I gave my resignation, she was shocked. And I made a career shift. I won't really call it a career shift, but that's when I transitioned into corporate human resources from recruiting. And I did that for quite a long time. Loved it, actually. But what always frustrated me with HR is, depending on what administration was in power.
How often did that change?
Oh, every time there's a shift, and if a Republican president gets in, a Democratic president.
Oh, I got
gets
you.
in,
Okay, I got you.
You're
actually talking about the government shifts in power. Okay,
because depending on
not corporate buyouts. or
No.
anything. Okay.
Regardless of like political beliefs, it's whenever a new
Right.
administration comes in, there's
Yep.
going to be changes, more red tape, more
Adjustment to their
guidelines.
side, right? So you have to relearn the rules.
Yes, and in HR, it's a really fine line to employees, how you interact with them. And I've always been more of like the soft, touchy-feely type of HR person to make employees feel happy and
Yeah.
that they like to work for a company. And in HR, it's hard to do that because you can't do it all the time.
Right. And they get you for sexual harassment.
Well, true.
Ba-dum-bum.
Don't be touching people.
Don't be touchy-feely. Well, he said to be touchy-feely. Okay.
But no,
That's
I mean,
our...
Now, wondering, minds like mine got to know, when you
Yeah.
explained to her why you were leaving, what did she say?
she was just in complete shock. She's like, well, one, it was after she realized that, I'm not joking. I'm leaving. And I was leaving to go work for a client too. So I had to be real careful about how I exited.
But was she worried? Was she shocked more because you were leaving, or more because I think they really begin to see how much work's going to be put on them?
Yeah, there was
Because was there anybody around you that really?
I had some branch managers who were strong in terms of succession planning and stuff like that, but she was going to have to do way more work than what she had been doing for quite a long time because of it. But I think that she was more, in my opinion, I think she was more concerned about how she's going to explain to her
How they
executive
lost a
vice president.
great area manager out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I think that was really her worry. It was her, in my opinion, thinking about herself at that point.
Yep.
But
That makes sense.
and then of course she wanted a minimum of a month.
Don't you love that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when they're done with you,
Yeah.
you're done.
Oh, you're done.
That
But
day.
you can't be done with us until we say so.
Right. Right.
So,
Without severance most of the time. Well, at least in my world. So
that was out of all my corporate experience, those 7 years, I think, are what actually defined who I was as a professional. And I still remember that because it also defined why I wanted to go and work for myself.
It was nice to find that out early.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I would have gone. I wish I would have gone and worked for myself immediately after that, and not, how many years later.
but
So.
the things you learn in that time frame, I think they pay off. Okay, so before we get into Clay's social media group, I want to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's somebody who helped you be able to weather those 7 years and have the wisdoms to develop. I don't think any of us develop on our own. And it may be life experience that was your greatest father teacher.
Yeah,
You
'cause
know.
I didn't have a real father for that stuff.
Was he gone early on in your life?
No, unfortunately, I wish he was, but he wasn't.
Mm.
So I grew up in a for the most part, a really super small town in Michigan called Petersburg, and town of less than 2,000 people, right on the cusp of Michigan, Ohio.
Dave, search for that, please.
Super
What was the name of it?
Petersburg, Michigan, super tiny, and it's one of those towns where everybody knows everyone. Half the town's related to each other.
Yeah.
People graduate high school, go away, come back, and then raise their family.
How big was your graduating class?
If I would have graduated from there, I didn't. But if
Okay.
I would have, it would have been probably like 50,
Gotcha.
55 people. So
Gotcha.
super small.
Yeah.
But my mom,
I just want to see like a map. Hang on, I want to see like a map where it is on the peninsula, and I'll let go ahead.
so my mom, well, her entire family's from there. And my dad's family was from there.
So you're second generation.
Yes. And they both got together very early on. I mean, my mom had my sister when she was 15.
It's Michigan. What else you gonna do? You hunt for the big deer, and
Yes, and it's always snowing, so you're stuck inside.
right.
So.
I mean, what else? There was not 25 channels to watch.
No. Especially in our house. My dad was stealing the cable from the guy next door. So
I did that. I got all the fights. That's when I got. Okay, we got to do a little sidestep. I was living on school grounds, and I had the box that broke in. And back then, somehow, they had a box, and that's when I got into bare knuckle fighting and saw Horace Gracie, and that was before the UFC. And I was like, "What is this?" I watched Horace Gracie get picked up by, and I didn't know it was Horace Gracie. I didn't know anything about the Gracie family or jiu-jitsu. I mean, I knew tackle somebody and whatever. But this guy, big African American who was a black belt, picked him up, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna kill this guy, and went to go slam him. Well, the whole time Horace Gracie's feet are this way, and I'm like, what is this knucklehead doing? First time I'd ever seen an armbar. And he went to throw him, and he was in an armbar. And he did what he did. And you can go watch the video. It was absolutely dynamic. So I had that. And then every now and then they would somehow send out a pulse, and it would blow it up, and I'd get another one and plug it back in. And I worked for the Duval County School Board and stole my cable. There. I feel repented.
cable was expensive back in the day.
Expensive.
Well, and my dad was a electrician, so there was no problem him climbing up the pole, tapping into the cable.
There it is. I did that for 5 years. Yes.
Well, you must have done it better, because even though my dad was an electrician, the cable was still fuzzy as hell. So.
No, I didn't have to climb up. This was a box. It was like a first generation of like the sticks, the fire sticks. Remember when the fire sticks first came out and they became broken? This was like a box that you tied in to your cable, tied into the box, tied into the cable. And it broke it, and I got national pay-per-view, bare fist knuckle fighting. Back before the UFC, it was actually a tournament. So they would fight 3 and 4 times in one day. So Horace Gracie would go out there and would fight a guy for 3 to 5 rounds, or till ever. There was no time. No, hang on a second. There were no rounds. They fought till it was over. And you either gave, or got knocked out, tapped out, or broke your arm or whatever.
Yeah.
And you could knee when they were down. There was no eye gouging, but I mean, there was no weight classes. It was mayhem. And I just happened to come across it. And then even on the broken box, it was late at night. And then he went back in, and in about an hour and a half, he was back out fighting somebody else. I'm like, what? And they went until it was a bracketed and Horace Gracie.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hardcore.
That's not me. Thank God for 9mm. I'm not fighting them. I'm too old. I bruise too easy. So anyways, so you didn't have like a traditional father. Were there people in your hometown that?
Well, so yes and no.
That pointed you in a direction that got you intrigued, and I mean, you do have empathy for people.
Yeah, I definitely do, and so I to this day I say that the saving grace that I had was my Uncle Jason, who was my mom's younger brother.
There we go.
So he and his wife Amy, my Aunt Amy, they took me out of the crap that I was going through with my parents. And but it wasn't until like the middle of my high school years. I mean, so all through elementary school, all through middle school, halfway through high school, my parents were just absolutely addicted to drugs and alcohol. I mean, there was nothing for me to come home, walk home from elementary school, walk in, and
Here we are.
super tiny, yes.
Down
Western
in this area here, right?
Monroe County, yep.
Okay.
Yep. Right on. It's literally the last town in Michigan before you get to the Ohio border where it's at.
Gotcha.
Is that showing up on the screen as well? On the
On this one?
on our view? Yeah, like blow it up.
Super tiny. And I have some good memories of it. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I was very happy to get out too. But
Did you have much freedom in there as a young man?
yeah, I mean, my parents were always high, so like I was like all over the place. So
Did you want boundaries?
I wanted a regular home life. I mean, because all the friends that I had, I would go over there and I wouldn't know how to. I felt so uncomfortable when I would walk in and there's a mom making dinner and my friend, posts up at the dining room table and the mom is asking him about his day and homework and she's cooking dinner and I didn't have any of that. And so I just felt like a complete fish out of water. But that's what I wanted.
Did you feel less than?
Yes, because I always
And how old was this? Just ballpark.
I mean, I remembered all the way back to like 5-6 years old.
Isn't that crazy?
And I mean, it was nothing for me to walk home from school. We lived like 2 blocks from my elementary school and walk in and dad is passed out in the chair and mom is snorting coke in the bedroom. I mean, that was my life. I mean, my sister is 7.5 years older than me. We could never have people over. If they weren't high, they were completely drunk out of their mind. And, dad would go off on benders for days at a time. We wouldn't know where he is. He had a huge gambling addiction, horse races, dog races, whatever it was. And
So y'all never had money,
never. No, I mean,
right? Because he's a gambler.
he was an electrician and he ended up getting hurt on the job, got a settlement. And to this day, I still remember coming home and my dad telling me to come in the master bedroom. And I walk in and it was the day that they got their settlement and he has a duffel bag.
When he got all the cash.
$100,000, which this was probably 1992.
Wow.
So back then, that was a shit ton of money.
That's 300,000 at least.
But he had it all in a duffel bag. And my mom was pissed that he showed it to me. But they blew through that money in months.
I have a family member that did that. I watched it. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah. I remember being, 1992, 1993, and we had a bookie in our small little town show up to our house and literally took the car out of the driveway because my dad owed so much money. He wasn't home. It was just my mom and I.
What was his favorite sport? Was it sports or was it just
No, it was
numbers or
horse racing and dog racing. Absolutely addicted.
Yeah.
And so they never owned a home. They always rented. And they rented a house from my great grandmother. That's the house mainly that I was raised in.
So you went from school to school to school?
So in high school, because my parents, I was pulled away from them, and then I was given back, and then my mom and dad were constantly moving around because my dad, I don't know what it was. We could go to a new town, and he within days
Found it all.
found the druggiest
Sure.
loser. I mean, he was just like he had a magnet for those people.
Yep.
And so we were constantly moving because he was getting in trouble. And so in high school, I went to 6 high schools in 5 years. So I went from, living in my small town in Petersburg up until high school, knowing the same people, to then being dragged all over the state of Michigan. And so I was always the new kid.
More rural areas, or did you start getting into more populated areas?
A little bit of both. I mean, the high school that I ended up graduating from it's in Burton, Michigan, which is a suburb of Flint.
Okay.
And so that school was even smaller. I graduated with 46 people in that school. So,
Any friends to this day?
oh yeah. So I still have some friends to this day from that school.
Your father was still around when you graduated?
Yeah. So unfortunately, I went back. I was forced to go back with them.
The courts?
No.
Just life.
Yeah.
Eh,
Basically, Dad showed up at I was living with my Uncle Jason and my Aunt Amy. That was the most stable period of my life. I lived with them for, it was less than a year, but they got me introduced to church. So I was baptized for the first time in the Nazarene church that they were going to. Had a great group of friends in the church group. Absolutely loved it.
Felt a part of.
I felt like, I mean, it was one of those situations where I would come home and my Aunt Amy's cooking dinner. She asked me about school. My Uncle Jason comes home from work, and they have their own kids, but I was treated like I was their child.
And they weren't envious of you being there or anything?
Not at all. I mean, to this day, I'm incredibly close with my cousins, but yeah, that was the first normal part of my childhood.
Wow.
My uncle I loved baseball. And so my uncle paid for me to go to the University of Michigan summer baseball camp. I mean, they treated me like I was their own son. So for my parents then to show up and forcibly rip me back was awful.
And you had no say in staying there?
No say whatsoever. No say whatsoever.
And how old were you then?
That was my end of my freshman year in high school.
So 15, right, Dave? 15?
15, 14,
Yeah.
15.
15 and can't have a say-so. And, okay, so you were there 7 months?
A little
8
less than a
months?
year.
A little less than a year.
Yeah.
So I guess they went through the programs and all that was required by the law to get their children back.
No, it was just they showed up at my uncle's house.
And he did what he thought was right.
Yeah.
Or was it a court ordered?
No.
Okay, understood.
But looking,
It's Flint, man.
Well, and
right?
looking back on all that, like it still makes me mad to this day because I have other aunts and uncles. I had grandparents, and nobody other than my Uncle Jason helped my sister and I. I mean, my sister was 7.5 years older, so by the time I was in middle school, she was a freshman in college. But everybody knew my parents had these problems. It wasn't a secret. I mean, they would show up to family functions completely bombed out of their mind.
And they'll close their eyes to it.
Yeah. And so
many families. Y'all know I'm in that world.
Yep.
You know, I'm coming up on 10 years not drinking.
mm-hmm.
I never woke up,
Yeah.
I was just a guy that if you went out and you would get a little buzz by 11, it's time to go home. I would get to know the owner and stay till 4 o'clock and have a blast.
Yeah.
And that's actually where I met Dave. He was a bar manager. Yeah. See?
Blame me.
Yeah. No,
Blame
I
me.
don't. I blame nobody. I know exactly what I was missing. And the first light in his story so far has been when he got the stability and was introduced to a power greater than himself that could give him a sense of, oh, this is how the normies live.
Yeah.
And I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not speaking for you. But I had a life, and normal was really odd to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would watch other people, and I would go, I don't fit in there. That's not who I am. And I would try. I could play the game, put on the mask, but it was never. I mean, that's why I played sports, and I was decent at it. I was not as good as my brother, but I was good at it, and I had attention as we got older. But that's not really why I got into sports.
Mm-hmm.
It was competitive, and I love competition in any facet. Don't challenge me. So I love. I will start rolling dice, man. I got some dice over there. Anyways, no, but I always wanted to find my place, and I can remember being at with some stud ball players, man, in my early years, and just going, man, I want to be these guys, and I can't wait till I'm at that level, and and my first can of Copenhagen. I actually opened upside down, and all the
fell out.
All the Copenhagen fell out, and we were in the shower, and I'm looking at this senior who's like, "Dude, I just ruined his whole can." I'm like, "Sorry, Dad," and I'm trying to put it in, and I was always trying to find my place,
Yeah,
and it never worked. It never did. And so, alcohol was a part of. Before that, it was workaholic, man. I would work 75, 80 hours a week. I would travel from Springfield, Missouri to Trinidad. If all my clothes were ever at home, and one day I'll have my bride on here and she'll attest to this. If all my clothes were ever at home, there was nowhere to put everything. I would come home with clothes after being gone 2 or 3 weeks.
She'd hand you a different bag and you were back.
She'd
on
have
the
another
road.
bag packed, and I would chase her around the house a little bit, smooch on her, play with the kids, and I would go play travel softball and all that fun stuff that Al and I were talking about, and then I was gone again. Family, I missed birthdays, anniversaries, and it was just what it took to. I remember looking at my boss going, I've got an anniversary. I know, but we got to get to Brazil. And off we went. And thank God I have somebody in my life that was able to weather that, because I don't know if me on the other side, I don't know that I would have weathered it.
Yeah.
I've seen my son have to go through that in the Air Force, so when he went to South Korea. I don't know. I don't know what keeps us there, and I don't know what keeps us growing. I do know this. There's always at least 1 to 3 people in our life that start plugging those nuggets in us that at least nudge us in the direction of who we become as an adult.
Yeah.
But, they say, and I'm not a scientist, look this up on your own, but from my recollection, about 80%, Dave, Google this, please.
Yeah.
How much, I don't know how to look it up. I'm going to say it, and then you figure out how to Google it.
Yeah.
But 80% of who we are as adults is set by the time we're 8 years old.
Well, I mean, I've always joked that, my family makes this joke that they can't believe that if that's the case, my sister and I, she's not a prostitute on the streets and I'm not some sort of, druggie.
That's what I want to know. So how do you not go to that? Because I have a brother, and he's not a prostitute and all that. No, he's not. But he's had a life, and I've had a life, and I have others in my life that I've helped that have had a life.
Yeah.
And then there's the others, like my sister, who is just an absolute. Her name's Angel, but she's an absolute angel, and didn't even consider the things that I considered.
Yeah.
So what was it that kept you off that edge?
So,
Or did you ever get to the edge?
No, my sister's the same way. My sister's got like 2 bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a good husband, kids, a nice house.
That was your rebellion. to show that you could have done this.
Well, for me, it is when I finally graduated. When I graduated high school, and I finally, my parents had no say over you have to be here, even though I don't really think that they necessarily wanted me there. But
Sure,
it was. I knew exactly in that moment what I did not want my life to be like. I didn't want to be them.
Is spot on.
And so I did everything I could to make sure that I didn't turn out like that. And it's not like after I left, I never had anything to do with my parents. I still had interactions with them. My mom ended up passing away in 2009. To this day, we don't really know why. I think it's because she just drank herself into a complete stupor. And then, a couple years after that, my dad moved in with my sister and her family and lived in their basement. And after a year or so, they threw him out because of all of the crap that he was doing. So then I felt guilty. And, he was, at that time, he was, in his mid-50s, living alone, in a crappy little house that he had to
I've been there,
rent.
hadn't I, Dave?
Yes.
Get that mic close to you, please.
So I invited him down to come stay with me. I wanted to give it another shot.
Yeah.
To have some sort of relationship with my dad. And he came down, and it was the worst decision I think I've ever made.
How long did he last?
He was there for just a couple weeks because he started to do drugs. He started to again leave for days at a time. I would have no idea what he's doing. Is he coming home? But what really was the kicker was I had a security system inside my house with cameras, and I was at work. Is when I was living in Gainesville, and I kept getting notifications on the camera. So I'm in a meeting. I remember this. I'm in a meeting with the owners of my company. I'm the chief people officer for an insurance brokerage at this
Right.
time. And I'm in meetings and my phone keeps buzzing and I pick it up and I check my camera and I look at the camera in the kitchen and I happen to forget my wallet. And so I see the camera.
Uh-oh.
My dad is in my wallet taking out credit card after credit card and writing the credit card numbers down, the expiration dates, all that, and then putting the credit card individually back in. I lost it. And I told the owners, I have to rush home. I got to go. And I rush home. By the time I get home, he's in the shower. And I just come busting in the bathroom. And I told him, you've got 5 minutes exactly to get out of the shower, pack up all of your shit, and get out of my house. And he comes out and of the bathroom, and I'm standing in the kitchen. And
Was he a big guy?
No. I mean, he's like my size. But
And drinking all those years.
yeah, he's looking rough.
Yeah.
But he's like, what's wrong? And I said, you tell me. Why do you think right now I'm rushing home in the middle of my workday to kick you out of my house? He's like, I have no idea. What did I do? And I said, you give me the piece of paper that you were writing all of my credit card info on. He's like,
Your own son.
what are you talking about? And I had to show him the video because all the movement in that house would get captured on the video.
Right.
And he didn't say a word to me. He went into the room, packed up his stuff, walked out. And that was 2015, and I haven't talked to him since.
Wow. That's heavy.
Very.
That's my dad.
Yeah. So who, female, male,
Mhm.
20 plus years older than you, that has had an impact in your life? And I don't necessarily need names, just, somebody that you think of early on. I like, because they say every 10 years we change to a certain degree through life experience and everything like that. So I love the early years. Like Miss Albrighton from Episcopal, she was an English teacher. She got me she made books come alive. And this little old knucklehead began to read books, and the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is she made that thing come alive. I never had seen the movie. And so I always, with my children, they still know her. And she was cute too. Hey, Miss Albrighton, how you doing?
Call me.
No, sorry. My wife won't let me. Anyways, so like you, I mean, and there may not be anybody, and I'm just curious.
No, there is. I mean, besides from my uncle,
Yes.
of course, who to this day I actually think of him as dad.
If you have a decision to make in your 20s, well, you were 25 and Dylan, who did you call?
I didn't. That's the thing.
Okay, and that's what
I didn't.
Was there somebody in the business that you began to try to emulate?
No, I mean,
How did you find? Okay, so then how did you find the way not to become like your father?
I don't have an answer other than I just saw him and I didn't want to be anything like it. I mean,
But habits start, ever so gradual. And at 25, would you pick up on the gradualism, or did you just stay away from the hard drinking or the steady drinking? Or
I mean, I did my own amount of drinking in my 20s.
we call it research.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. But it wasn't like my parents where they're drunk and high all day, every day.
Yeah.
I mean, most, I don't want to say every, but most people in their 20s go out clubbing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, go dancing, drinking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was chasing chicks.
I mean, there was...
And I had to run quick because they were running from me. So anyways, go ahead. That's another podcast.
I've never had what I think has been a mentor. I didn't have that.
Did you know it at the time?
I didn't feel like I needed it, to be honest with you. I think I was
arrogantly or just confident?
No, not even either. It was, I just knew that I wanted to be a successful person who I didn't want to be looked at or be thought of negatively.
So that defines success to you.
To me, yes.
At that time. Obviously you added over time.
I
but-
always wanted people to say something good about their interaction with me.
Are you a people pleaser?
I am, but I was always afraid because of what I saw my parents doing. I was always afraid of somebody to have a negative perception of me. I've always been overly protective about that. And it's not because I want people to think I'm perfect or I've got my shit together, because even if I didn't have my shit together, I acted like I did because I was just deathly afraid of people thinking negatively about me.
Yep.
I didn't care, like, think I'm nice, whatever. I just didn't want people to think that I was a screw up. That's what I was paranoid of.
Did you ever have a lengthy time in your life where you were a screw up?
I mean, yeah, I definitely had.
This is the good stuff right here. This is what makes you come back from the dead. Go. I love it.
I mean, gosh. There have been times where you hide the problems that you don't want people to see. And, my problems were I went through my own issues with alcohol in my 20s. I mean, there were plenty of times where, like, I would be drinking all night and I'm going to work. I'm probably still drunk. There have been plenty of times where in my 20s, where I don't know how in the hell I got home after being out at the clubs and ended up driving home. And the next morning, I have no idea how I got home. But I did my best to hide it. But I don't think I had.
When did you realize that was enough? Because you've obviously changed. I've been around you enough.
Yeah.
We've been to a couple parties. So, yeah.
I think
you're not that guy.
Honestly, it was when I moved out of Michigan down to Florida. That changed my whole entire life.
Well, dadgum, man. If it was just change scenery, I'd have been all right.
See those Northerners for you again.
God, dog. What? Michigan now? Hang on a second now. For all my Michigan brother. Michigan and sisters who could kick your butt, by the way. These backwoods women over there, like Door County. Are you familiar with Door County?
No, where's that?
Okay, it's on the other side of Michigan, in the upper peninsula.
Okay, that's real rural up there.
Oh yeah. Sturgeon Bay. Shout out to Sturgeon Bay. Your loved one. Y'all got to go spend a weekend up there, because you can literally get on the boat. I've got some numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get on the boat and you will be out at like 5 o'clock in the morning. By 11 o'clock, you've caught your limit of salmon.
Mm-hmm.
They're filleting them as you're on your way back. And we would sit there, and I know Dave has heard this one. We would sit there and blacken them, fry them, and grill them. And I think we might have thrown some green beans in there. And it was pure
just
fish.
For color.
Yes. I mean, you're talking about fresh. And then we would go sit on that soft grass y'all have.
Yeah.
Which, will that grow down here? I wish that bluegrass will not. And we would watch the boats come in and out. I love Sturgeon Bay. There's not much to do, like, party-wise, and I didn't really care. But they had little shops and everything.
Well,
so.
For me, to this day, I mean, most of my family's from northern Michigan, not in the UP, but like the last town before you get to Mackinac Island.
That's
across the
Upper
bridge.
Peninsula, Dave,
Yes.
for you Jersey boys.
Way up north.
For you Jersey boys.
But my most fondest memories growing up was in the summertime. I would go up to, you met my cousin, her father, my Uncle Bob. I would go up and stay with them for weeks at a time in the summer, and in a normal household, but it was called going to Uncle Bob's boot camp. And you spent the summer hauling brush, doing whatever you're told to do. But at nighttime, you're hanging out in the woods at a bonfire, and the whole
camaraderie,
the whole freaking all the neighbors on the back road that have houses there.
They just come out of the
over.
woodwork.
You just see people walking in the woods, and it's just a huge bonfire with a bunch of people, and everybody's so friendly.
It's all up north. That's not just Michigan. That's everywhere up north, like the bonfires and everything.
Yeah.
I miss that.
Yeah.
Like
Well, then
that
why are
was-
y'all so mean when you come to Florida?
It's the New Yorkers that are the mean ones.
Is it just New York or is it New Jersey? New Jersey. He's Jersey,
Right
right?
now, yes, I am.
He's Middleton, Jersey. Shout out.
Middlesex.
Yeah, so I mean Middlesex, Middleton. So
Is that the nice version of Jersey? Because you're nice. You're not.
I'm literally.
he's
dead
not
center.
nice.
We're not around all the bad cities.
No, how big is your town?
Mine, I graduated with 114 people.
That's small too.
Yes, but I mean, how big is your population? Like of middle Sexton, middle I want to sex
I'll pull it
you
up.
ton, middle will you sex me ton.
I feel like
New
we
Jersey.
need to play that "Color Me Bad" song. I'm gonna sex you up or something. By the way, "Color Me Bad" was my very first tape I ever bought.
Really? Okay, so my mom, she bought me AM radios because you know, the devil and all this. I mean, we grew up. I mean, she grew up in, I mean, backwoods North Carolina, and so when we got in town, she was very independent Baptist, and probably we were close to Dancing with Snakes. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We were-
14,640.
Shoot, that would be a gigantic town where I'm from.
And you know what's weird is all the small towns want to leave, but you were close to big towns, though.
Oh, very.
Okay, was yours close to any big towns?
Toledo.
Man, Toledo. I know Toledo
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I mean,
I got harassed by gangsters in Toledo.
yeah, it doesn't shock me.
No, I went up there and I went up for John LaHan, Selling Retail. It was a book that was written in 1984 and it changed my life in retail and understanding why and how people buy. There's a book 1, book 2. I don't make any money for it. And the guy's an ass in person, by the way. John LaHan, you were an ass in person. But his book was absolutely phenomenal. And so I flew up there, and there was only like 20 of us, and we're having this private class with John LaHan. And I mean, I'd been studying his book since I was 19, so it's been about 5-6 years, and our sales had exploded. You know, buying into all this and implementing it on a larger scale. And so then he came in, and so I was at a hotel that was somewhat close, and I had taken a cab a couple of days. And I was like, man, it was a beautiful day. You know how it gets. And it was chilly, but it was cold at night. And I was walking back to the hotel, and I had not checked in. And I didn't know that, checking in, I mean, you know, it's like, you know, who do I call? I mean, you know, and so then off they pull, and in the darkness I went, because darkness is my friend. I know how to go. They're not the popo. They don't know how to corner all corners. And I don't know how I got back to my hotel, but it wasn't on the sidewalk. Guess what? I taxied from then on out. They weren't getting my pizza money. My goodness. So you get into your 20s, you go through that a little bit, and then you never any trouble with the law or anything like that. With that. So that's good. I mean, that was fortunate.
Yeah.
You know, mine was not the case, and I was a bozo, and I'm very fortunate. I
did have the police show up at my house one time, though, to arrest me, but I wasn't arrested. So,
We're waiting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my father took my car.
Oh man.
So your car was used for something.
So I think I was a sophomore or a junior in high school, and he took my car to go drinking at the bar with a buddy, and he and his buddy decided afterwards that they were going to go do donuts in the Kmart parking lot.
That sounds like an awesome idea. Dave, you've been there with me, right?
We've done a few things similar.
Yeah. So he hit a car and then wrapped my car around a pole.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
And he took off.
Oh, so they're
Got out,
okay.
just left
took
your
off
car.
running.
Yeah.
And his buddy went running the other way, and the cop showed up, and the car's registered to me.
Sure.
So they were coming to arrest me.
Right.
And it wasn't until it was my mom, I think, she was coherent enough to say it's his dad. His dad took the car. That's who you need to go and get. If she would have been like knocked out or something,
You'd have gone to jail.
I would have gone
The
to
cops
jail.
would have been It's whether they trust you or
Well,
not.
because they didn't have cameras like they do now. Now they can follow you from every daggum. I mean, you can't go a block.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't help that my dad's name is James O. Smith, and I'm James O. Smith II too. So.
Yep. Yep. Did you ever have? Did the town know about them too? I mean, were they?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so were they like the town?
They were the black
drunks?
sheep. They were the black sheep of the
Were
family.
they the lowest of the low? And
They-
lowest. I don't like lowest of low. Bad verbiage.
My mom wasn't until
Not lowest of low, but people knew their lifestyle.
Yes. However, what the sad part was, my dad's side of the family, which his side is Portuguese. My grandma Lil was this short little firecracker Portuguese woman.
I love Portuguese.
Loved her to death. She was probably, as a kid, my favorite person.
Do you know where she was from?
Well, she was born in Portugal, but she was raised in Shanghai and
Oh,
then moved over.
gosh.
Yes.
What a life experiences.
And when she was young, beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
woman. But she married a guy in the army, and that's how she got over here. He was horrible. So he beat her, and she, pushed out 6 boys for him, and the boys were just rotten because she had to work 2-3 jobs, and she wasn't around to really,
Like
teach
a
them how
male
to be
bride?
good people.
Almost like a male bride?
Kind of. I mean, he constantly cheated on her. He would come home drunk, smack her around, and then finally one day she just kicked him out, and he was gone. And she had to raise 6 boys on her own, working all kinds of factory jobs.
So I want to ask you something. So there are other family members in that same town?
Oh yeah, the whole town basically I'm related to, it seems like.
Okay, so they know that someone is smacking around a woman, and they do nothing about it. They don't even call the police?
Oh no, none of that.
And the police probably wouldn't have done it because they probably know
It
Joe
was-
and Jim and Smith.
In that there was one cop. I
well,
mean,
especially back
basically.
then, you never heard of that.
Yeah.
How many years ago?
Yeah.
That's more of a more.
If I ever
prominent
saw
thing.
my dad smack my mother by hand, I'd have been on him.
Yeah. I mean,
And I love my father.
yeah.
Yeah, you would have been on. Would you have called the cops as well?
I don't think the cops would have been needed, honestly. You seem like a guy that would
No,
just take
but-
care
Oh
of
my
it.
I'm
dad!
just-
Oh my dad's. I might have needed the cops.
Oh.
He ain't no slouch. he was a big boy.
Like I said, but you would have got on your dad. But would you ultimately have called the cops on your dad?
God no, I know I won't. If we're gonna stay authentic,
And that's
we
why
will.
you never heard of it, because people didn't do it back
Yeah.
then.
And it's like all the stuff until the P Diddy stuff. And I know this is a little off, but this is the human dynamic side of this. Is people don't move today. Something goes on with somebody, and we all stand. Well, not we all. I ain't that guy.
They flip the
cameras.
phone out. Yeah.
The camera and
Yeah.
the phones. They're at concerts in the first 5 rows, looking at their hero, quote unquote. Why their hero, I don't know,
Mhm.
but good artists. And they're looking through their phone instead of just putting it aside and having a great memory.
Yeah.
How many of our videos do we really go back and watch?
Once it's posted on social media, you don't see it again until it shows up in a year as one of those
As a
reminders.
memory.
Yeah.
Right.
A memory. Yeah.
I can't get to all my photos. I can't get to them all. I'm gonna start deleting a lot. I'm gonna force myself to, because I have like 27,000 pictures.
Probably just of this building.
Oh yeah, I mean when you're in this one industry that we're in, I mean when you're in that, so yeah.
I think I probably have 20,000 pictures of your building now too.
Okay, that's true, and that's a great engagement, because we can bounce back into personal as well as things pop up. But Clay's social media group. So it was founded obviously by you.
Yeah.
Why Clay Social Media? I mean, I don't, not necessarily the name, but what got you into that marketing side?
Yeah. So when I was laid off in 2023 at the end, I decided I do not want to go back to corporate America. I didn't want to work for someone else again, didn't want to go through all the red tape, and I had to figure out what I'm going to do. So I thought about, what do I love doing? And look at everything I've done in my past. I mean, I've been in recruitment marketing, HR.
Did you go away, or did you just sit down and just start?
I sat
Did you make
down.
a list?
I did. I made a list.
I mean,
sat
an
down.
actual physical written down.
The list that I made was the stuff that I knew that I did not want to do.
So you had a don't side of it.
Yes. And, part of my professional career too was I worked in retail. I was a store manager at J. Crew. I was a district manager at Hot Topic.
Crew. My man.
So, I've done a lot of different things. And so I made a list of things that I knew I did not want to do. And the one thing that stood out to me was I love marketing and I love social media. So can I start something that I can turn into a business? But I knew I wanted to help small businesses. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help small businesses grow their business. And if I could do that through social media marketing, I felt I could be happy.
So had you already learned the marketing side of the social media?
Yeah. So part of what I was doing for Allstate and Prudential with their employer branding was social media marketing strategies for them to develop an employer brand of choice. So I knew I knew the strategies behind social media. I knew the tools, and the strategies to be able to do it for large Fortune 100 companies is totally different than doing it for a small mom and pop company.
Because isn't it more of inundating the whole market with the brand? And
correct. Yeah, exactly. And
you have the money to just pound it on
unlimited budget.
Unlimited budget.
And the Fortune 100 companies are focusing on paid social instead of organic social. Because in small companies, they don't have the budgets for paid. So they rely on organic. But the one thing that was coming to fruition in every conversation that I was having with people is that with small businesses, they either don't know how to do social media, so they don't do it because they're overwhelmed, or maybe they know a little bit, but they don't have the time because they've got
so many
50 million
platforms.
things. Well, the platforms, but they've got 50 million things that they have to get done during the day, and social media is not a priority, but they know that they need it.
So you didn't get
So they
underneath
find you to do it for them.
That was my original plan. Yes, was to.
Sounds like it adjusted.
Well, it adjusted once I launched my company. So
How quickly?
pretty quick. Like Becky would be Bella was my second client, and Becky definitely falls into that category of she doesn't know how to do social media, right? But then she also has a million other things on her plate too, as trying to grow her business. But the one thing I was finding is that some of the larger companies that I work with, and when I mean larger, they're still small businesses, but they were wanting more of just consulting. They wanted to still do it, and maybe they even had like a marketing coordinator internally that was doing it for them, but they maybe don't know a lot, and so they just wanted some consulting. I was getting a lot more of those clients, and quite honestly, that's a lot less work on me than having to do all of a company's social media for them, coming up with the content, creating the copy. But I don't like that. I don't like the consulting.
You like the creative side of it.
Yeah, I like to create it. I like to come in and do the pictures in the video. I like the editing. I like the creating the copy. I love the analytics behind social media.
I was just about to get there.
Yeah, and that's what fills my cup during the day. But it's hard being a one-man show. Right now, I've gotten up to 30 plus clients, and it's hard because I'm driving all over the
one
county.
year?
Yeah. So since January 1st.
Attaboy.
I hit my plateau at 30. Now that's a mixture of consulting and then also having the companies outsource everything to me. And the hard part though is how I stand out or how I separate myself from my competition is I don't rely on the business owner to take the pictures, take the video, and send it to me. I come in and I do all of that, but that's time consuming.
That's a lot of work for you by yourself. I'm just thinking that's like 1 day per client a month.
You probably can squeeze 2, right?
Sometimes it's if I can cluster them together.
Right.
Here I'm at B Bella every single week.
Right.
Sometimes twice a week if I.
And I think you've picked up
in.
another client in this industry.
Yeah, Southern Grace. Yeah, they've been fantastic. So. And I have some other scenarios like that where.
So you pick up a client like Southern Grace. How do you determine what the business, I mean, not what the business model, man, see, this is me and my being an idiot with my layman terms. How do you figure out your game plan for each customer and what you want to accomplish?
Yeah. It's always the initial conversation of what have they been doing? What do they want to be doing? So if it's, we know that we want to do video, which video is 80% of what drives
Video is
platforms
king.
like Facebook and Instagram, especially then you have TikTok. So I always sit down with them and review what they've been doing, are there any off limit stuff they know they don't want to do. And then what do they want to focus on? What platforms are they on right now? And then we have a conversation about what platforms, based on what their goals are, what industry they're in, what platforms then do I feel are going to work for them to be able to achieve the goals that they want. So, TikTok is great. TikTok's like the third most used search engine.
Right. Isn't that crazy?
It's Google still, and then
Right.
YouTube and TikTok now.
Yeah.
So, but if somebody is a super stuffy accounting firm, TikTok's probably not going to be the best option
Right.
necessarily for them. And
is TikTok becoming more informative and less entertaining?
I would say, yeah, over the past couple of years,
I've seen it as well.
I mean, TikTok started out as an app called Musical.ly,
Right.
where it was just music and dancing.
Right. I had a friend of mine who did it with his daughter. I used to watch that and go, how silly is that?
Yeah.
And then I'm all in it
What
now.
were
Yeah.
you doing?
I'm all in it. I got my dancing with my daughter.
Yeah, it's great. But I mean, the largest age group on TikTok right now are moms between the ages of 35 and 46.
Yep.
That's what's driving TikTok right now.
And do you know the number one needed space is 50 plus over men for things like this and the shorts and the affiliate marketing, not marketing, but affiliate where you can, advertise, the affiliate advertising.
Yeah.
And things of that nature, which I knew nothing about. I learned a little bit more because of the baseball that I'm around with all the ball players. I'm not involved with them at all. I just want to make that clear, like officially, but I know a lot of ball players on Savannah Bananas, and they are a social media. I mean, these guys have to keep growing clients. Their following is as big as their ball playing. And so to learn from them and to watch how they grow businesses and everything.
Yeah.
Brands actually, because they're each their own brand. It's pretty interesting.
And what I love about social media is because of how the algorithms have changed over the past couple of years. Before, the brands that had the most followers, those were the brands that got all of the exposure with what they put out, because the algorithm was based around you build up a heavy amount of followers. And
Content.
Yeah, and a percentage of the followers are going to see what you put out. So the goal was to get thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, and it didn't matter about the quality of the content. Now, with the algorithm shifts, somebody literally could go and create a brand new TikTok account, never being on it, and they have 0 followers, create a video, and it can go viral. It can get 1 million views, and somebody who has 8 million followers on TikTok can create a video, and maybe it only gets 3,000 views. And it's because the algorithms now are rewarding the quality of the content versus rewarding the number of followers that you have.
Do you help monetize as well?
I do, yeah. So I have a couple clients that we monetize via like the TikTok shop and stuff like that. And I prefer, my e-commerce clients, they have to have stuff like that.
Right.
But what I prefer is true quality organic social media, because if you ever want to transition some of your social media into paid social media, do it through organic first, because it's proven itself. And then if you're going to turn it into a paid ad, it's already worked organically.
Right.
So it's like before, years ago, you would dump a bunch of money into paid advertising on social media, but you didn't know if it worked or not.
Right.
So now, if it works organically, invest it into paid, and you're going to that's probably the best way for you to get your bang for your buck right now.
You ever fire a client?
A couple this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why?
Non-payment.
Okay,
You know,
that one's easy.
months go by.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I've learned since just having this conversation with somebody recently, when you're a new business, you take on whoever comes to you for your services. So, I mean, you have to have money coming in,
Gotta
right?
pay
You
the
got
mortgage.
bills to pay,
Yeah.
and so you just take anybody and everything. And
You pay for that. Sure, I do.
And then
and sometimes it works out, but there's been a couple times this year, you know, looking back, if those clients would have come to me now, I wouldn't have
you
taken
basically
them on.
filtered them out.
Yes, and you know, I've gotten to the point too where I know what industries that I like and that I'm good at, and a lot of those are in like the health and fitness space because that's a personal interest of mine with working out and stuff like that.
Shout out to Orange Fitness.
Orange Theory Fitness.
Sorry, thank
yes.
you. Give them a shout out. Absolutely. You never know who hears this.
Yeah, love Orange Theory Fitness, but also, you know, my CrossFit client, Green Cove CrossFit.
There
They
you
were
go.
my very first client. And but I've had, you know, some companies who are in who have been in like the fast food space and stuff like that, which I mean, that's fine, but it's not going to be right for me and where I want to kind of position my company. But I've gotten to the point doing this for almost a year now that I know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And for me to be able to charge someone for my services, I want to believe that I'm going to be able to deliver for them what I know that they want.
How about personalities?
Yeah.
Can you read them right away? Are you that person?
I'm-
Are you really quick about?
I'm better now.
Yeah, Jamie. Why would that be? Have a sip.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's definitely been some situations this year.
Yeah.
I mean, as big of, you know, an area that Clay County is, I mean, it's a big county, but there's a lot of businesses here, but there's definitely
They don't like newbies.
they struggle with newbies coming in for sure. And, you know, there's been some situations where if someone's doing well or kind of an up and comer, other people think that they can do it too without actually putting the effort in. If that, you know, so
how long does that usually last?
Not very long.
Not very long.
Not very long.
Yeah. We all need to stay in our lanes.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny now, you know, looking back, there's definitely been scenarios of what I would call fake support.
Oh, 100.
Yeah. From people that get a lot of praise for their business and what they do, but it's not how I would do business.
Very interesting. I guess you hit a soft spot with me. There was nothing more frustrating to me in my 20s, 30s growing up, and you would know where the results came from, and then you would see who was getting the light shined on them. You go, but that's not why it works.
Yeah.
You know, and I think there's some people in life that are just intended to help. And I don't know if the light will ever shine on them in that regard. I think it shines on them through their work.
Yeah.
You know, Be Bella and all the fun stuff and Be Bella Beautiful and all that y'all. Was that y'all's tagline? I mean, it
was Patrick.
Was it really?
Yeah, that was his. Yeah.
But you grabbed hold of it.
Yes.
So, I mean, you recognized it.
Yeah.
But back to the human dynamic, back to the humans and knowing, like, how long in, I mean, do you have like an interview process? Do you sit down with them first?
Oh, yeah.
And foremost to figure out where they want to go, how long they've thought about. I mean, because you don't want to sound like a salesperson.
No, and you know, I have told people there have been a couple times where I've met with people and they were wanting to move faster than I wanted to move, and you just get that gut feling that I needed them to think about it a little bit longer. Because
but you acted on it. That's what I'm curious about. Where did you learn to act on your gut and not be like the others that something's going on and you don't move on it?
Well, it came after the first couple of times I got burned with clients.
There it is.
And so I knew
Pain equals gain.
yeah, I had to learn quickly that if you don't choose the right clients, you're just going to end up losing money. And as a small business, you can only lose money so many times, right? And I think that's why a lot of businesses go out a business within their first year, because they don't learn from their mistakes. They just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah. That and undercapitalization.
Yes.
Your business model is a powerful business model, but it takes time to build that following. Like I was on your page today and I was just looking around at it. Beautiful, putting all the names in there and, establishing the brand. And so in Clay County, you have 30 plus clients.
Yeah. Yeah. I have one across the bridge in Jacksonville, but everybody else is in Clay County. I try not to cross the bridge as much as possible.
Well, I have news for you, Jamie. I mean, you're a year in. You're going to have you, and it won't just be you. There'll be others as you grow, and they'll be crossing the bridge. You may have a business over there. I mean, you may have an office over there. That's where I love to talk the deeper. I mean, the vision of future and speaking it out loud. Not affirmation, dadgummit. Dave, you still
I can't remember it.
Come on, Dave. You've been over there for however long. I don't look at my watch because I don't want to. But the word's bugging me. I've been sitting here listening to him, but I'm still trying to figure that stupid word out.
You got to use the Google machine.
Yes, you have that fancy computer in front of you. Just play around. It's when you speak it out loud.
Isn't it affirmation?
That's
Well, I may be right.
Yeah, I think you
It's
are.
not
You are right.
Yeah, but it's not the voodoo term. I'm not thinking of. I can't think of it. But it's when you manifestation, you knuckleheads. Dave, how do you let this country boy from North Carolina manifestation?
well, manifestation is when something builds. Affirmation is getting
No, affirmation is saying you're doing a great job.
Right.
Manifestation is speaking it and speaking it. I had a local, I used to have about 6 or 7 booth spaces that I would rent. And I had this one local young lady who owns a store. And I would always talk about this building I was going to buy, this building I was going to buy, this building I was going to buy, this building I was going to buy. I mean, he never really said, Brett, why? And I guess that's why he still hangs out with me. But I finally had this one young lady, and she was like, and she's a smart woman and comes from a good family, and her husband's sharp. She was like, Brett, are you ever going to quit talking about the building? And I don't think she finished before I said, no. I will say it till the day I die. If I never get there, I can live with that. But I cannot live with not striving to continue to find that next opportunity. Because I lost a Porsche. In 1989,
story.
yes, 1989, I was on Phillips Highway. I was digging footers for a living. I was a big boy, and I thought I didn't need my daddy, so I'd move out. 17 years old. So me and my brother and a bunch of other knuckleheads are living at Sun Tree Mobile Homes. Shout out on Phillips Highway in a single wide. Oh my gosh, man! Your 20s and blackouts and. I didn't have a car, so I couldn't drive, but they would pick me up at 4:30, and we would start digging and everything. So where was I going? I lost all mine.
The Porsche.
Oh, yeah, the Porsche. So we would get up at like 4 o'clock, and we would dig footers before they poured foundations. And so you get up at like 4 o'clock, and we'd have to go out to, Amelia Island or what have you. And we would pick up on Thursdays would be the new, I think it was Thursdays, would be the new book. There was no internet.
Nope.
So there was books that they would print of the new cars. They'd come out and take pictures of your car, and then they'd post them in Auto Trader. And so I bought a book. I was looking for a car. I bought a book, and I was flipping through, and there was a Porsche there for $50.
$50.
$50, and it's 4:30. They're hot. I mean, they're still warm. They used to say hot off the press. It was hot off the press. I'm 54. I guess we're getting old, Dave.
Yes, we are.
I love it. I love my generation. And so it was off the press, and I looked at it, I was like, $50. Come on, man. This being the idiot, 17, 18-year-old know-it-all. And I was like, this is just a misprint. It was 50,000. Yeah. Back then, there probably would have been 50, 60,000 in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yep.
And so I threw it on the floorboard of our old beat-up truck and went to cutting and digging and looking. And Kevin Irwin picked it up about 2 days later, and we were going to Pick and Save to eat for lunch, man. They had the buffet, Bubba. Let me tell you. Pick and Save had a good buffet. That's a whole nother story. That was on San Jose. Anyways, and he was looking at it and he saw that Porsche. He's like, "Dadgum Porsche." I said, "Man, shut up. That thing's not worth." Well, he went and got a quarter because there was no cell phones. Went and got a quarter, and when we were going to Pick and Save, called the guy. And the guy had already sold it, obviously. But he said, oh, yeah, he was getting divorced and had to sell everything. Had to give his ex-wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, half
of everything.
half of everything, and he dumped it. So this guy obviously had a ton of money and was just really being vindictive.
Yeah.
And I could have had a Porsche for $50 bucks because I was up at 4:30. Nobody was ever up. I could have called, met him that day, paid $50 and had me a Porsche. But that was in 1989. In 2000, so that's 10, 11, about 11, 12 years. Because of that loss, I bought a house in Fleming Island that looked to be way too low priced, but I ran the rabbit hole just to see. I was willing for it to be nothing, and I ended up walking in on a really good deal that paid dividends after 20 years, selling it and everything. And it was all because I lost that Porsche. And so failures become successes if we learn the lessons, or we're doomed to repeat them.
Yeah.
That's why I hate history not being available in schools, my youngest is in college. My oldest have already gone through it, so I know what kind of knucklehead stuff they're teaching. But they don't teach basic mathematics. In the history of what we went through in this country and the ugly parts of it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Slavery, it was ugly. Next, we really spend time on it.
It's, you say math, but think about this one. Kids these days can't even read the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
Because it's written in cursive.
Well, I always said that if you put, if we all start writing in cursive and bring every vehicle back to manual, that we will just shut down this generation.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Except for my middle boy. He can drive a stick, so he'd eat us up. So.
I love driving
it's to the point where they can't even read a clock.
See, there you go. I like this. There you go. Coming after the next generation. So I was 17, and I used to hate when I started living on my own, and I got into sales as I was trying to find my way. And I used to hate when people wouldn't view me as an adult because I was paying my own bills, and they would, "Oh, youngin, when you get," we said this. This will probably be a theme you'll hear a lot in this podcast. Is I've met a lot of stupid old people, and I've met a lot of intelligent, not intelligent. I met a lot of wise 20-year-olds, middle 20s. I'm not saying they're all there, but I'm saying they are beginning to develop in ways that challenge me. I'm not just talking about just my boys. So I don't know. I think this next generation is savvy. I think they saw, and I think you really are on the front end of it. Would you? I mean, I don't want to get into your age, but I mean.
No, yeah. I mean, I think that, for me, I was forced to, I think because of my childhood, right?
Yeah.
So I was forced to. But I think I was having a conversation with my cousin Haley. She's got a daughter. And the shit that kids had to go through with COVID, lockdowns, and not being able to go to sporting events to play their sports, not being able to have graduation ceremonies, not being able to have prom, not being able to have homecoming, not being able to have human interaction without a mask on. I think that what they went through had a significant impact on their ability to communicate. And I think that there's going to be part of that is going to have an impact 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now.
100%.
I mean, just some of the stuff that my little cousin had to miss out on through COVID.
And they're all on the little screen talking to the teacher. And it was ridiculous.
It's just, to me, it's so sad. I mean, we have a generation of people that missed out on a lot of life experiences for a good amount of time.
But we also have a generation of people that all went and took a shot that wasn't tested.
Yeah.
And did you know that 87%, this is CDC numbers, CDC, look it up, 87% of Americans took the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
300 out of a million. I may be off on that number. Look it up, please.
Waiting to hear what you said.
Okay.
So I can.
So they were saying that Bill Gates and all them, and I saw Joe Rogan talking about this. Bill Gates and all them were talking about some of these third world countries. They're going to die because only 1.3% of their population got the vaccine. And they only had like 11 out of 1,000 or whatever the number was that died. And they had like 1% of the whole population that was vaccinated.
Yeah.
And
I mean, people were literally dying alone because family members couldn't be with their family, the person who was,
I know
dying.
a few.
Well, my grandfather, my mom's dad, he died during COVID, in a hospital room. However, we were fortunate. My aunt, who is my mom's younger sister, she's she's the chief nursing officer at the University of Michigan Hospital.
Oh, wow.
So she had some pull, and so she was able to fully, whatever that suit was, like a hazmat suit, whatever it is, along with my Uncle Jason, were able to be in the room, and the hospital set up an iPad. And so the whole entire family for days got on Zoom calls. It was an open Zoom line. And so I remember sitting on my couch, falling asleep with my family on a Zoom call, and we were all there with him when he took his last breath. But
over a
Zoom. But
wow,
people don't have that type of pull. Your family member died in a room by themselves. That's heartbreaking to me.
I had a friend, actually, it was a warehouse guy from Main Street that I have sort of stayed in touch with over the years. And this guy actually was a drug dealer when I first got him off of Main Street. And then he worked up in a livable wage and met a wife and just had a beautiful life. And he has since passed. But his wife, who was a little bit older than him, went in for COVID, and he could not. He's just just a blue collar, if not below poverty level, not Main Street, wherever he lived, but it was on the other side of town. And he would sit there because he would post it on Facebook, Carrie Conver, and he would hold up a sign saying that he loved her. And every night he would sit downtown, and he did a live where the cops messed with him one night because he was sitting there holding a sign trying to tell his wife
that he loved her.
And this man worshiped his wife. It was just beautiful, man. These two, and they both have passed. He died very young. African Americans without health care and everything, and not just African Americans. It's really just the poverty.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of Caucasians that are dealing with it as well.
Yeah.
And it's rampant in this country. We have that Regency Mall over there, and I know there's a church that's in there now, and God bless them. But that Regency Mall, I've always looked at all these old malls and go, why don't they turn these into the old Japanese style living where you have a bed you roll into and there's a TV and you can't stand up in it. But when you get out, there's kitchens and there's a place to shower.
Yeah.
And it's very inexpensive. And then you can have a warm place to live.
Yeah.
But
there's a what's it? The company called they're on Fox News all the time. I can't think of the name, but they've been building veteran communities. And they renovate old hotels, old malls, and they turn them into individual
well,
apartments.
somebody's doing it. I was just talking to Don Marie because we were over there. We were passing Regency, and I went to Salvation Army. Shout out to Salvation Army. Love those people. They have been in Jacksonville. I would love to get a Salvation Army rep, and I will get one on here, hopefully, Lord willing. But they actually have a 3-story building where men and women can live there for 6 months. They clothe them, they feed them.
Wow.
Now it's a spiritual based program. So you go to church on Wednesdays, and I had some family members that had gone in there, and I actually would go to church with them. And so we go over there and I buy from them as well whenever I get a chance. And, there's so many, neat companies and organizations out there helping people for nonprofit. But there's so many that are nonprofit that really aren't helping. They take
Yeah.
a lot of money.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you look at the salaries of the CEOs that are running the company,
I hate that.
I mean, millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars. This building used to this building here used to be for battered women, and had a major impact in Clay County. I hope to get Miss Quigley on here one day, or a representative of the Quigley House, so that the story can be told. There's a little window in here where they would literally be coming through the woods. This story that was told to me. They'd be coming through the woods, and a man would be chasing them, and they would get through the window. They actually had broke the disconnect on the air conditioner outside because they would put a foot on it and push up in this little window, and it's in this room in here. And then they would hide them in here for a couple of days. And then Quigley House does amazing work for battered women. You got something?
Here's your Salvation Army. You can now donate a good night's sleep to someone if you wanted to.
I did not know that.
That's cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'll just drop them off at your house. Hey, have you seen? They said, now listen, when I say they, this is some of a little bit more of the mainstream media. I'm not a big mainstream watcher, but I love to watch MSNBC meltdown. Not that I really care about Trump. It's just sort of fun to watch each slanted side go crazy when the other side wins. It's a lot of fun. But they were talking about I lost where I was going now. I'll get back to it later. It'll come back.
You're talking about dropping them off in my house.
Oh, I know. Okay, thank you. That the Florida governor
DeSantis.
sending all of those out to Michigan and out to Oklahoma and out to Montana. No, it was Montana. Out to Montana, that they began to see the problem that we were dealing with down here in Florida. It's not that we don't love people.
Oh, he didn't like when they sent them up. The people didn't like. He sent them up into like Massachusetts.
It was Martha's Vineyard or something.
Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah,
Thank you.
They didn't like it up there.
No. And they got to see. And now there's a ton of videos. Search for one, please. There's a ton of videos on Instagram, TikTok, and both of them are linked up. I don't know if it'll play through. We'll find out. It'll be cool if it does. If not, we'll watch it here. But where they actually are walking up to the door with about 4 immigrants and going, "Hi, how you doing? How are you?" But they don't show the immigrants at first. And they're like, how do you feel about immigrants? Oh, I think they should all be allowed in. And well, great. And all of a sudden these people come and they're like, no, stop.
They should all be let in, but just not here.
Yes.
Just not my house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the people who don't want walls have fences and borders around their property.
What in the heck is around the White House right now?
Exactly.
A huge fence.
Exactly.
So
they will shoot you. They will shoot you. Matter of fact, try to get into Canada. I mean, have you? My son plays baseball, and so they go into Canada and out of Canada. Mm-hmm. My father has gone in and out. I have not been to Canada, just for all clarity and everything. And but the Canadian police, the way they will break down your vehicle for fruits, they don't play about coming in and out. One was a plane that landed that I watched. I watched these silly documentaries, and it was how stiff the Canadians are. And then Mexico.
Yeah.
I mean, they will deport you.
Mm-hmm. Cuba
has better health care than we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're what, 49th?
It's insane. I mean, then the food here too. I mean, there's third world countries that have healthier food that's sold in the country than we do in America. There's so many, I think I read that there's like 32, 33 types of ingredients that's in foods in other countries that is banned, but we have them freely here in the U.S.
I think McDonald's is like 3 ingredients on their fries over in Europe, and they're like, my wife said 16. I think it's more than that. I thought it was in the 30s.
Just the dyes.
Right.
Like red dye number, whatever, yellow something, yellow 5.
Just the potato and how they grow it. Watch another silly documentary, and we'll get faster at showing these.
Brett, what does that say?
Migrants dropped off near Kamala Harris, D.C. Show that.
They arrive arrived in sub-freezing temps. Local organizations picked up the migrants, took them to shelters and churches. It's not known who sent the migrants to VP Harris's house.
But find one where the home, like a local homeowner.
Let's take a look at the satellite radar imagery. So we do have some active weather.
Yeah, that's all
across
right. Yeah,
Washington,
just pause
Oregon,
it for a
the far
second.
northern-
So yeah, I mean, and they said that actually played an impact in the election. I don't know if it did or not. I'm not that deep in politics, but I thought that was very interesting. It would be, but we already know it here in Clay County. I mean, it is the immigration has. I mean, I can tell a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know the technical I mean, I don't know the real nationality. Haitian, or it's
Venezuelan.
And God bless them, as long as they are legal.
Yeah, I mean, I fully believe that people need to come here.
My forefathers came here.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm Irish.
You come here legally. You be a positive impact in the community.
That's the key. What are you gonna do? The other countries, and it may be Canada as well, go, what are you bringing in skill set wise that's going to help this country grow?
Yeah.
And we've allowed the lack of history and the lack of what really makes America great. We're taking away the incentive.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, as you put away for Social Security, it's not there for you. It's not going to be there for me, much less you.
Well, and for our country to be taking care of immigrants better than we take care of veterans.
Gosh.
I mean,
they're in New York in these hotels. I mean, and they're not inexpensive hotels.
no, there's no hotel in New York that's inexpensive.
They're getting health care. They are getting child care help. This is all something that can go be verified.
Debit cards. I mean,
Debit
food.
cards. Not just EBT cards, debit cards.
Yeah.
They're making like $3,600. Now I could be off on that number, but it is a considerable number. And so it gets to the point where there's no incentive to work.
Yeah.
And that's what made America great was, I did tell my wife this today, there are more opportunities to make money in this country today than there ever have been, in my opinion. And I'll tell you why. I believe there's less people that are willing to go get it. I believe there are less people that understand how to get it. But more importantly, I think there are more avenues to go get it. You can start a social media group, and in in a year, you are self-sustaining.
Anybody who you don't have to have a college degree, you don't have to come from a wealthy family, you don't have to have a certain type of background. If you are willing to work hard, you're passionate about what you do, you treat people right, you can become and build anything that you want to.
Yep. I think it also is staying power. There, because what is it? I don't know what the percentage is, but a certain percentage of businesses, small businesses, don't make it past 5 years. It's a large percentage. And then those that then go on and then grow and become successful and grow into multi-stores on the retail side is what I'm talking about. They're the ones that have the staying power. They weather the bad times. They weather the competition and the things that are done or not done, and it's not always easy.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the fun of it. I love what that one Navy SEAL or whatever says, that his trainer used to always tell him. And he would say, listen, when anything rough comes about, always go good. And I don't always say good initially. You've even been around once or twice. But I do real quick get back to, it's going to make me stronger.
Yeah.
And I think Jamy Smith is the Clay social media group skill set that he has to draw in 30 clients in 1 year. I mean, steady clients. These are monthly.
They are. Yeah.
I mean, that has to be. And then I've seen you. The relationship building, I think, is as important. Or is it? Let me ask. Is it as important? But in the end, you can have all the relationships. Because I've had some great relationships in this store.
Yeah.
And some of those ladies hate me now. So I found when the money's good, they love you.
Yeah.
And when the money's not there, all of a sudden they see all the negative side of.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're working for clients, you've got to produce, right?
It is.
But the one thing about social media is it's definitely a long game, right? You're not gonna. It's not a magic switch
Right.
where in a couple days
Right.
you're gonna have a bazillion leads coming in because you had some nice post that went out or a nice reel or
Right.
something. So it's a long game, and it takes time, it takes consistency, it takes quality content, but you still have to produce results. And if you don't, it doesn't matter how great of a relationship you have.
Is verbiage in the actual video as crucial as hashtags and tags?
It's everything. So everything you do to a reel or a TikTok plays a role in how the algorithm is going to help you. So it's what's said in the video, it's the captions in the video, it's the hashtags that you use, it's the tagging that you use, it's the music. Is the music that you're using, is that trending? It's the time that you're posting, the day and the time. So that's one thing with the programs that I use. It tells me based on the followers that you have, what are the best times of day that your followers are most active on social media. They're going to see what you're putting out there. And also, if you're taking a video and you're using it to put on multiple platforms, so YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, it's also changing up the style of the video. It's changing up the thumbnail. It's changing up what's written. The
Because you get
caption
rewarded
have.
for that.
Absolutely.
Because it's new content to them, technically.
It is, and if you're putting the same type of post, whether it's a static post or a video or a reel or something on multiple platforms, you have to give people a reason to think that the content is different so that they follow you on TikTok and then they follow you on Instagram and they follow you on Facebook. If they see your content and they're seeing it the exact same way on all the platforms, it doesn't give anybody a reason to follow you on multiple platforms if they can just get the exact same thing from you on Facebook. So that's time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put a lot of thought into it, and it's tough. It's tough because you have to kind of reimagine the same piece of content over and over again on different platforms.
And not every day is a wonderful day for you. And yet when you go to create content, you got to think of the happy place.
Yeah.
How do you get back to that?
It can be exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean,
you've had a bad day. I mean, personally, relationship wise, your doggy, and yet you got to come in here and go sit with a client and be smiles. And listen, I'm not being funny. I mean, it actually is very difficult to do. And I'm just curious how you recenter.
That's where the workouts come in. That's why I do like 7 or 8 of them a week. At Orange Theory, it's because that's my time. And I get to have.
So that physical release actually.
It is. I mean, and unlike going into a gym and doing it, which a lot of people do that too. But for me, I've got to think about so many different things with all of my clients.
You just want to be told what to do.
I want to be told it. I want to be told what to do. Yell at me. It can be a boot camp, drill sergeant. I don't care. Just tell me what I got to do, and I'll do it for 60 to 90 minutes.
Now, see, interestingly enough, I have no desire for that.
No, either do I.
Like CrossFit. I went to a CrossFit with a friend, local here friend, and there's a bunch of meatheads in there talking about how they we're doing push-ups. And they're, I'm doing a typical push-up, elbow outs a little bit, and a lot of these guys are like, no, it's elbow in, and then there's another macho guy out there popping up and down. They're all flexing because the new guy's in here, and I'm like, what are we doing here, dude? And then I had just had some back issues, and I mean, they're wanting me to pick up this bar, and I'm like, no, I had just gotten in a wreck. I was like, no, I'm going to lay off on that. And it was sort of like there was a sissy side to it. I'm like, Bubba, what are you talking about? I just got rear-ended, man. I'm with an attorney. I don't want to hurt myself. And so it's the meathead mentality that has always kept me out of gyms. I can't stand them.
There, I used to work at a bar right next to one of them. And hearing the conversations they had when they came in.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, that was the exact reason. I tried CrossFit a couple of years ago when I was back in Gainesville, and I left after a couple of weeks because it was in that particular CrossFit gym was definitely a meathead mentality. My client here in Green Cove, there's more women that are members there than men. Incredibly supportive, but just the other day I was there doing videos and pictures, and there's a pregnant woman doing deadlifts, and you couldn't imagine how many people in that workout class stopped and just supported her, because it's amazing to see a woman 6-7 months pregnant doing deadlifts and doing it with ease.
But
And
see, you build relationships there.
oh, absolutely. That one.
I don't like
absolutely.
building relationships.
You want to be the one to go in, do your thing, and leave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to get to know everybody.
That's the one thing that gets me through the workouts, though. So it's definitely a different perspective for me.
Why is that? Why do I not want
don't
to
know.
build relationships? I mean,
Because you're
I
a
want,
people person. You're so nice.
am I? I know. Well, thank you. Well, I mean, there would be many people that would probably disagree with you. I will tell you this. I do my dead level best to be fair. But I think because the positions I've been in, there's just not many people that want to really walk with you
Mm-hmm.
and let you do it the way you know works. There has to be one that takes control. Now you're a team of one for now.
Yeah.
But as you grow and you've worked in corporate, there's always has to be that one. And when you have a vision and it's been there forever
Mhm.
and you've seen it work on a larger scale, I was blessed with corporate Would You.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these men let me, for all that happened, these men let me at an age when I didn't deserve to. I mean, I wasn't qualified. I remember the first guy I trained down in Newport Richie. Oh my gosh, I was like there a day. And I called the boss, Mr. B, and I was like, hey, listen, you got to get rid of this guy. This guy's not going to listen to me. I'm like 24, man. I don't even know how to train, I was just good at sales. I was good at engaging people because I do care. But you care for so long and nobody on the other end of the line cares to that degree. They say it.
Yeah.
I love that old saying, you keep listening to what I say, which is what a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep listening to what you do.
Yeah.
And I love that because your actions mean much more to me. Like love to me is important, but it's not the most important part for me. Respect is the most important for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I define love. I don't know how we got off on that. But that was me running. So I don't know. I mean, do you have a tight circle or is your circle pretty big? Because I mean, you're a social butterfly in a lot of ways.
Yeah. No. I'm actually an introvert.
Really?
I'm forced to be an extrovert. Even in corporate America, because the position the last position I had in corporate America, I had a team of over 100 people, and so I had to invest in them and
Sure.
constantly engaging and constantly wanting to take care of them and care about them. But in this role, I mean, when I first moved to Green Cove Springs from Gainesville, I was working remotely in that job and I was on Zoom calls all day long. Only time I left my house was to go to the grocery store. I wasn't even working out at that point.
Right.
So I would leave my house once a week, basically. So when I started Clay Social Media Group, I knew nobody here. And here, you have to be networking.
It's a small,
It is. And so I had
big.
to,
It's a big area, but it's small.
It
I've been
is.
surprised.
It is. And so I had to go to networking groups and go to networking meetings and ribbon cuttings and put myself out there. But that's not normally me. Like my happy place is at home with my dogs, just in my boxers on the couch,
Chilling,
nobody around me.
working on your videos. And
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
that's my happy place.
Yeah.
So I had to definitely come out of my shell to be able to launch this in this type of a market.
Right. Yeah, because this is not like a great economy.
No, and
Especially when you started. It is definitely picking up.
Yeah, for
now that we're through the election, I'm not talking about who won, who didn't. I'm
Yeah.
just through the election helps any kind of retail. So
yeah, but the hardest part about what I do, quite honestly, is that one, social media never sleeps; it's always going. But when you're I try not to call myself an agency because I'm not, but at the end of the day I am.
Yeah.
And I have to work with so many different companies in so many different industries. That's the hardest part of what I do. Like 1 minute I'm working on, content for Be Bella, a retail boutique. The next minute I'm shifting gears and I'm working on content for a mortgage broker. And then the next minute it's CrossFit. And then after that, it's an e-commerce business. So
It is not though and although you're right. I mean, like the visual and what you want to show, is a little bit different. It is not the base reason that people buy or engage with a business almost the same thing across any industry.
yeah, no, it definitely can be. It's just,
Like when perceived value passes the dollar you're asking,
yeah,
it works.
it's hard to capture the brand story for so many industries, right? That's the hard part.
Well, you almost have to create it too with a lot of the small business. Like your bigger
Yes.
guys, they know what they want to do.
Yes.
They're telling you, hey, listen, this is what we want to project ourselves as. Now you go build a campaign around that.
Yeah, and I have some clients who literally they're like, I have do what you want. Just
I don't even know I don't know how to project who I am. I don't know how to.
do what you want. And quite honestly, those are my favorite clients,
Right.
because then I've got 100% creativity.
Right.
But then it's a lot more work.
Right.
But that gives me so much creative outlet.
So the majority of the clients that you have, your goal is to
It's to get them, one, it's to create their brand. Then it's to get them more recognition so that they can utilize social media for more people to know about them, more people to know about their business, more people to learn about their business, more people to understand maybe why their business is different from their competitors, better from their competitors, and really just to tell the brand story. Now, at the end of the day, it has to lead to leads, more business,
Gotta be a little
more
ROI.
sales. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But if social media is done right, that comes. It just doesn't come overnight.
Yeah. Do you have any that are further ahead? And I don't need like names. I'm just curious as to why you think those are further ahead that maybe started almost the same time as other.
Yeah. So definitely my CrossFit client for sure. There's a lot of CrossFit gyms around here.
Right.
There's a lot.
And it's a recognizable brand. That probably helps a little bit, right?
A little bit. But
But it is saturated. So
it is, but every CrossFit gym is different.
Yeah.
And with this particular
I'm
gym,
glad you said that again. Keep going.
this particular CrossFit gym has a really strong emphasis on their community with their members. And so that's what we've capitalized on from a social media perspective, which they weren't doing it before. They were just, hey, we're a CrossFit gym. You want to get into good shape? Come and work out in our gym, which is what all CrossFit gyms do.
Task-driven businesses.
Yeah. And it's
Goal-driven businesses.
Yeah.
Instead of community-driven businesses, which in this generation, I'm a crypto guy.
Mhm.
And the meme coins, I love them.
Mhm.
And the meme coins that I look for are the ones that have the greatest communities.
Yeah.
Pepe.
Mhm.
This is just my advice. I mean, this is just my opinion. I am not a financial advisor in any way, shape, or form. Contact your financial advisor. I've also lost some money too. But the communities, and it's been very interesting in any industry. When you build a community in a business,
Mhm.
the camaraderie, it starts springing forth creativity as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
Do you have many that really know exactly what they want?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I mean, I think that's
Is it because you select that and you maybe walk away from those that know exactly what they want?
No, I walk away from those that think they know more than they do.
Yeah.
And so therefore I know that
Went to
they're-
YouTube University and
Yes.
got a couple videos.
Yeah, and
got it all figured out.
and they're just going to want me to do the stuff that they were doing,
Right.
right? And what they were doing obviously wasn't working.
Or she wouldn't call me.
Exactly. So if you're not open to change and you think you know everything, well, then you might as well just continue doing what you're doing. But it's those that want to think outside of the box, want to receive feedback, and are open to doing something different.
Outside of the box is used a lot. Get into that.
Yeah. So if you look at it, doesn't necessarily mean outside of the box from a creative perspective.
Right.
It can be outside of the box from your philosophy around what should be done.
And it's almost changing what you've believed in.
Yeah, or outside of the box and doing something different than what your industry is doing. So, for instance, we'll take Be Bella, for example. Be Bella, we market around the difference that people get and feel when they walk in to Be Bella. There's tons of boutiques around here. There's tons of places for women to shop, right?
Right.
But how many boutiques and stores do you walk into where you actually feel like you're cared for?
Yeah.
Where you can actually feel like someone cares about why you walked in the door.
Yeah.
And then they care about how you feel when you walk out those same doors.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, Be Bella, it's not so much the awesome merchandise that somebody can walk in and spend an hour in the store and still
Which
not
is
see
absolutely
everything.
fabulous.
Yeah.
She
And
got
still
some
not
stuff.
see everything that she has in
Yeah.
there. It's around how you feel when you're in there shopping in the store. That's really the golden ticket for Be Bella.
So how does Clay's social media group take that vibe that you and I see physically and then get it on a TikTok or Instagram 30-second? What's your typical? Don't give everything away, but 30, 60 seconds is in that range.
I mean, you don't want to be any longer than a minute and a half.
Right.
However, TikTok has now just opened it up to 60-minute TikToks.
Really?
Yeah. And it's definitely a shift. But again, if you look at if the content is quality, I mean, and you give someone a reason to watch, you give somebody value, you make it interesting, that might work. Might work.
Do you see an issue with TikTok and China and this coming down the pike and all that?
No, what's funny is the administration
Right.
was all up in arms about TikTok and how it should be banned, and how China is involved. And our current president and the president-elect both have TikTok accounts now.
Right.
So I mean,
Okay.
it wasn't working because one administration was upset that the other potential administration was getting a lot of play on TikTok, and all of a sudden TikTok should be banned. So no, that doesn't bother me at all.
How do you take a store like this one that has Facebook followers and the Instagram side? I mean, because Facebook is slowly just losing, its punch.
Yeah.
Although it's still a robust, and we do very well with it. You know, with my Facebook ads, I'm pretty good at, pinpointing my targeted audiences.
Yeah.
But does Instagram and all that, the back end, does it work very similar to the YouTube? I mean, to the Facebook?
It does. I mean, it all depends. Like a lot of people say, oh, Facebook is just for older people.
Right.
And TikTok is just for Instagram is just for younger people. That's not really the case.
Right.
If you understand who your audience is on those individual platforms.
You can hashtag 40 over on TikTok. They have a whole section that is 40 and over. I knew nothing about it till the last couple of weeks, and I did it, and there's a bunch of old people.
Yeah, I mean, you're unique because most business owners, at least business owners that I have talked to around here, they don't really understand who their target customer is.
Yeah.
And sometimes even their target customer is completely different than their followers.
Yeah.
And so they're putting
that's interesting.
Well, and if they know who their target customer is, and that's who is making them money, but their followers are different than their target customers, then
their advertising's wrong.
Their advertising's wrong. They've got to put out more organic content that gets them more of their target customers to become their followers. And that's where people don't understand the science behind social media. It's not just putting up a pretty post, a pretty static post, or putting up a video and thinking that that's going to be enough.
Yeah, content is not the name of the game. Content is very important, but content in the right place and the right message and the right delivery, the right platform, the right time.
Yeah.
And that's why there's Jamie Smiths of this world, because the Brett Blankenships of this world have no freaking idea.
No, I think you do have idea.
Well, I dumb down a lot. I like to have a lot of fun. Vintage One,
Mm-hmm.
we're goofballs, and we just don't care.
Mhm.
I mean, I care about my customer, but the other day, and get the mic close to you, Dave. What was I was up on the
He
ramp.
was up on the ramp with one of the gray wheelie carts.
You know
And
that
he decided-
all antique malls have.
He was going to lay on top of it and come sliding down the ramp. Well, then it came into we were going to do a video. Well, he grabs one of Becky's Christmas things.
Oh
And
my
she
word!
About
No,
Brett,
no.
Brett, no.
That's how she said
So,
it. No, Brett.
And I'm so tempted right now to get the card out while she's not here and have him roll down here with that Santa Claus in his arms.
Matter of fact, after this, this would be a good time to shoot it. That would be funny.
Jamie could shoot it.
Yeah, but it would actually be no, because then he gets punched. Let me don't bring him down with us. We're the bad boys.
I mean, one of B Bella's strongest posts this year was you making out with the mannequin when I first started
That
working
was
with her.
hilarious.
That was a good one.
They tried to get me in a wig. But I have so many pictures of the dodos that are around me, of my competitors doing goofy stuff. It's sort of funny. We're going to do a collage.
There's a TikTok that Jamy at Southern Grace used of you where you're doing a little jig past the Southern Grace Manor wall back here of her merchandise.
Yes.
I remember the day you did that.
That was fun. I need
Yep.
to do more. So I've been busy, man. I mean, I sold my house and I have got, and this is exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And it didn't really hit me till now because like my TikTok page is very slow right now. And my Instagram, I have not been posting on there. I pound Facebook because we have really good, I get a lot of private messages. I gain a lot of one-on-one there, but the Instagram is, it's the millennial. It's the next generation. It's where all my kids spend the first IG, and so.
It went from Instagram to Insta to IG.
Yeah, to IG. And I actually remember, so another funny, goofy story to show my ineptness in this world. I was on Kick. Because I was trying, see, he chuckles. Because I was trying, I didn't know. Okay, I did not know. I'm an idiot. So there's this guy in Costa Rica that we're doing a water plant with. I'm in some kind of an investment, right? And I'd sent a guy down there, another partner of ours. He found the water, made sure everything was good. But the guy talked on Kick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know. WhatsApp wasn't around. And I mean, it's been some years now. So I downloaded Kick. And I was on there, and I had my son and my daughter were in the car with me, and it went bloop, and I went and looked, and there was these people, y'all know what kind, were like reaching out to me. I'm like, what is this? And I had this one thread of me and this guy talking all the time, and I had a buddy of mine who had a Kick app.
Uh-huh.
And he says, what are you doing on here? I was like, and that was the day that my kids told me. He said, that's where all the old creepers go. And I'm like, what? Oh my, I mean, I had my real name on there and I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like getting off a Kick. I'm like, oh, they bust on me to this day. You mentioned like my family and the forehead pictures and how hilarious that is.
Yeah.
Comedy in social media. Are you growing in that? Do you like that?
Yeah, you definitely have to have fun. I mean, I try to have a mix of stuff with clients. So content that adds
informative.
Value. Yeah, informative, adds value, talks
call
about
to
the company.
action.
Yes, and then fun stuff. So one of the best videos I put out for an e-commerce client was, you see all the videos I do with Becky.
Right.
I'm doing like 4 or 5 a week with her.
Right.
With my e-commerce client, it's the same thing, but I have an exorbitant amount of bloopers. And
okay, that's funny.
So I put together
A blooper reel
for a Friday fun post, and 27,000 views later.
Wow.
I mean, it's just that type of stuff is funny, but somebody has to be open as the business owner to be putting themselves out there in that sort of light and be comfortable with it and know that it's not making fun of you. It's giving people a laugh, and they're going to remember your brand that way. Because making these videos is hard work.
It's
on
hard
people.
work.
It's hard.
It's hard. I mean, having like the spider when the spider was attacked. That's a great video. I even enjoyed watching it and doing that kind of stuff. I think we took like 4 or 5 shots and to keep the humor up. Like when we first started, and Dave and I, we've learned all this, you know, and I'm really proud to have him here. And when we were learning how to shoot videos, and Becky, when I first had her, I mean, they don't know how to shoot videos and how to keep it in and then let you slide by and keep you out of the frame, when to bring you back in. And there's an art to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know that people spend the time it takes to know what this really does for the end result, which is to grow your business, you know, and to make more sales or to gain more clients or whatever your business is. That grind of, so you're 1 year in, which is a baby company.
Absolutely.
So your vision board.
Yeah.
Do you have a 1 year, a 5 year, or how do you do it?
I just take it day by day right now.
Oh, I like that. No, that's not okay, keep going.
Yeah, no, it's definitely day by day because one, being a one-man show, my day is different every single day for the most part. I mean, so I feel like I can't think too far ahead. Plus, when I start to think too far ahead, I just get overwhelmed.
Yep.
Overwhelmed. So
Living in the now is probably the most powerful tool I have today, because when the dark moments come, you know, when the struggles in life come, business, you're getting attacked, you know, other people are trying to get into your thing, and you were there helping, and those dark moments when you just want to go, and getting back in that moment and helping the next customer, the next client. And Dave will call sometimes, and it was early on, he'd always want to talk about sales. He'd want to tell me what kind of sales we had. And I don't want to talk about sales. Tell me about the best interaction you had with a customer. And what'd you love about it? I don't care what they were looking at. And if I can get myself focused on the human side of people and why they buy, why you get them to engage, you know, it's really the same.
Yeah.
I'm the end one. You're getting them there, and we're trying to figure out how can we, and not entice, but show a product that the perceived value, I mean, the dollar figure is below the perceived value. And that's the only time people buy. You can do whatever you want, but if your perceived value is not above the dollar figure, no one's buying in any industry.
Yep.
That's my 2 cents. That's what I've learned through it. So living in the now, where do you get to, like, is there a number that makes you go, wow, I need a second hand?
I feel like I'm there right now, but
That's why I was getting there, because 30 is a lot.
Yeah, and I'm scared to pull the trigger just yet.
Oh, that second level up is always one of the most difficult, because there's a responsibility now. Now you're bringing another person on that
it gives me anxiety. Like, I'm already itching my hand right now. It gives me anxiety to think about being responsible for somebody else's livelihood.
Yeah,
that's what's scary.
Do some of your companies ever do it on like a 1099 kind of a thing, where you bring on partners and what they bring, almost like attorneys, what the businesses they bring into the firm, you know?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that the real next evolution of my company that I've been contemplating is more services outside of social media, because with having one service offering, you're kind of tapped out with what you can charge, right?
Get pigeonholed,
and
there's so many social media experts.
Well, and to grow in this market, because, you know, I told you before, the main reason why I named my business Clay Social Media Group was because I wanted to work with local businesses. Right. So for me to be able to grow, it's either I need to just keep adding on new clients all of the time with social media, or do I explore other digital marketing options like email marketing, SEO, specifically focusing on Google My Business, website development and management. Those
getting off fake reviews.
Yeah, that's
could you do that? I got 2 on there.
I mean, I kind of think.
Hi, Jamie Reeves. Hi, Sydney Brown. I'll see y'all soon.
Yeah, I think you handled that yourself pretty well.
Yeah, my goodness. I was shocked.
I mean, it's definitely not unheard of, but it's
Nah.
definitely, it takes a shitty person to be able to do stuff like that.
Yeah, especially small business. You can hate somebody, but to go out of your way.
Well, in this market, it's not like that stuff doesn't come back around and bite you in the ass. So,
No, and by the way, it's not the first.
and it
And it
probably
won't
won't
be
be
the
the
last.
last.
And
So.
you know, I do know this though. I know anything in life, I just refuse to allow others to control my mentality, my thought, and my process.
Mm-hmm.
I won't get off topic. I won't lose my focus.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm human. I hurt. You know, I mean, I want everybody to do well.
And everybody can do well
They can. Well, can they?
if they do it the right way,
If they have
the honest
self-reflection.
way, the respectful way.
But what is the percentage of people that truly can look in themselves in the mirror and see their strengths and weaknesses, know how to maximize their strengths and minimize their weaknesses?
You
I
know-
don't come across many.
No, but the best advice that I have ever been given, it actually was my uncle Amir. He owns a bunch of Mediterranean delis in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I remember him as when I was a young boy. He would say, "Don't spend a second thinking about your competition. Spend all your time on your customers."
Hmm.
And he had competition. They were talking about a college town.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that. Don't spend a second thinking about what your competition is doing and only focus all your time and energy on your customers.
I like it, which is sort of my saying is I don't let anybody rent space in my head.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you time in my head because that's what you want. And there's no positive outcome from what that is. All it brings is frustration. So I don't spend any time on it.
Yeah.
I just focus on the next good customer and the next chuckle. I will watch your and my podcast and I will laugh and I will learn and I will grow and I will reach out to the next.
I would lose the rest of the hair that I have on my head if I stalked my competition's social media pages, or if I looked at their announcements of the clients that they just landed, or what they're doing. In
You'll
a new
drive
campaign.
yourself crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Clay County is a small market, but I've got competition, but I focus on what I do well for the clients that I work with. And that's what's going to help me grow.
That's all you can control.
Absolutely.
And there it is. It's focusing on what you can control. And the things you can't control, let them go. Because in the end consumer, your end client, that's what matters.
Yeah.
If you're going to be around, you got to know how to tap into them. And if you spend all your energy on bozos around that are just trying to chirp, then you don't have any true time to do what's going to keep your business afloat and grow and mature.
That's why what happened to me,
Yep.
that's why I chose to completely remove myself.
Yep. I'm getting
Because
better at that.
I knew that if I didn't, I would get inundated in the fight.
Yep.
And it would eat me up. It would suck up my day. So I chose to remove myself from it and remove myself from those people.
My problem is this. My whole life has been a bunch of wars. And there's not been many times, and I'm not like anything special. I have other men that have been through greater war, cancer. I mean, come on, losing a leg. I mean, diabetes. I mean, let's get real. I'm talking about business wise, and none of them have ever allowed you to sit down and talk things through. They never will do well, that's not true. David and I, we've had disagreements in our business life, and I've sat down with him and we've had talks. I mean, when it was time to decide about, his health, I spoke very frank with him.
Real. Straight up.
That was a tough moment. He was trying to decide whether to lose his leg. And I'm watching an employee of mine and a friend of mine go white as a ghost. He's pale with poisons all in his body. Now I can't imagine having to decide about your leg, but I walked in that room. I cussed him up and down. Cut your fucking leg off.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing he ever did. So to have to go through that pain to get to where he is today is the same semblance of business. And the one thing I love is how simple life really can get for us if we really allow it. The struggle is the same. The issues, I mean, the scenarios are different.
Yeah.
How do I treat people?
Mm-hmm.
How do I react how people treat me? How do I find my end goal? And how do I project a path that'll allow people for me to lead them to it?
Mm-hmm.
Because they got to trust you.
Yeah.
Your clients have to have faith in you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I don't think it's just numbers that gives you the faith, right? Because there's another guy knocking on their door going, oh, he did this many ROIs where I can get another 3% here or there.
Yeah, and they definitely have to have the trust because not every post or reel is going to work,
Yeah.
right? And if you look at every single post as individually and not as a whole, that's not the right way to look at social media. And it can come down if a client that you work with doesn't have trust in you and you put one or two things out for them and they don't work, they can say goodbye to you.
Right.
See you later. Sorry, we tried. I don't really think that you're cutting it. But
Right.
if they have trust in you that you're investing in getting to know what's going to work, what's the right story to tell for their business and their brand. And let's be real too. These guys are letting me into their social media accounts.
Yeah.
Every
Yes.
single business page is attached up under a personal
Yes.
page. That's trust. I mean, people's
Yeah.
credit
Yeah.
cards are in their advertising campaigns and Meta.
Yeah.
And so, there's definitely a significant amount of trust on that side. And also they're trusting me to tell the story about their brand.
Do you do a lot of dialed in targeting, like your radius is? Like for a local Clay County, I mean, do you keep them out of Mandarin and on the other side of the river?
Yeah, so we'll drill down even to side besides geographic. We'll drill down to titles, interest, hobbies, ages.
Like I send none of my videos to men. No man will ever see my video. It's only for me, it was only the females.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's predominantly probably
Yeah.
99.9 of who walks in here.
Yeah.
Except for me, because I've bought a lot of your stuff.
No,
so.
no, I will have and I will have another campaign then that I target.
Yeah.
Hey, if your wife's, yeah. So I don't have that campaign yet, by the way, Jamie. So
Can we call it the Jamy campaign?
yes, the Jamie campaign. Well, I am one that is lagging, and this is a good point because I mean finances can be tight, and we've spent a lot of monies in other areas, and so I want you on and to take care of. And so when does it come a point where you're saving money or you're really losing money because you're not bringing on a social media specialist?
Yeah. I mean, I think you've got to take a look and weigh, can you do it enough to get what you want internally before having somebody externally do it?
So would you consider is it a number of posts per platform, or is it just?
No, I don't. When I work with clients, my contract is definitely not written like you're going to get 5 posts a week.
Right.
Some of my competitors do that, and that's
Right.
their business model.
Right.
I don't limit anything, even though it eats away at my profit margin, because obviously the more work I'm doing for a client, the less that I'm going to make from what they're paying me. Right. So if you look at, if I put in 40 hours in a month for one client, you divide that by what I'm charging you, and that's basically per hour what I'm making on it. And sometimes it's not much.
Right.
But I don't ever want to limit the number of posts per platform because that's not in the best interest of that client. Whatever's going to work.
That's not normal though, is it?
It is not. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a cousin who owns a digital marketing agency in Michigan. It's
Right.
big. She's got 15 employees. She's been doing it for 10 years now, 7 years. That's not her philosophy.
Right.
Mine's different because I don't want to get to a point where I say, okay, Mr. Client, we've hit your 5 posts this week, but say they have something big going on that comes up. And then I got to say, okay, well, it's going to be an extra charge if we do that. That's not in the best interest, in my opinion, for that client.
But you also, and this is just playing devil's advocate, don't you have to be careful of devaluing your time too?
So that's one of the things I struggle with because, again, being a show or a company of one, I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
That's where I've struggled this year, trying to determine where my time is best suited and how much do I invest in this client with my time versus that client with my time.
Do you see a time where AI helps you and assists you and becomes that second person maybe?
So I'm using some of it now. Like, I mean, obviously.
Because I've been tinkering with it. You and I talked a little bit about it.
Yeah. And obviously with AI, especially if you use it for copy and stuff like that, you have to, you've got to zhuzh it to make it sound like it's an actual human being.
No,
that
you
said
do.
It. But it's in some aspects, it's definitely a time saver for sure.
There's a lot of editing that has to go on so far.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to continue to get better and better at it.
I use it more for, especially if I'm working with a new client in maybe an industry that I'm not real sure about or I'm not involved in it every single day, to come up with content planning, content ideas, and to help build out the 30-day or 60-day content plan. That's what's been helping me with AI.
I mean, when you sit here and you listen to Elon Musk go, we probably shouldn't have done this, you know? And I mean, this is Elon. I mean, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did we just open? I heard somebody on one of the national news channels, and he was saying the next 5 years is going to show a huge difference in AI and what they're going to be able to do.
There's large Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies that are using AI to do their initial interview screening with candidates.
Yep.
You have no idea that you're not talking to a real person.
Yep.
But it feels like you are. And it's because that's a faster, easier way to get through those initial screenings.
Dave, search for machine builds house. We tried this the other day, but now you've gotten better. Machine lays block or something like this. Machine builds house on its own. This machine is literally replacing every guy that lays cylinder blocks. And it doesn't have to lay as much mortar because it's so precise.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have to lay the rebar. I'm not a construction guy, but there were certain things it was able to leave out because it was so precise on it.
Yeah.
And they actually show the machine. We'll see if you can find it. They actually show the machine, and this thing just runs down the line and is pouring concrete. Nowadays, you know, the 3D that can, I mean,
yeah. Well, it's the same thing that's happened in over decades in the automobile industry and factories, going from humans doing everything to machines putting cars together. And
I talked to somebody about making me a logo for this.
Mm-hmm.
It was $1,800. I got a hold of a dude from India, got it done for $100.
Yeah.
I want to help local, but that's a $1,700 difference just for a logo.
Yeah.
And there's so much stock photos out there, and all you can do is change a color here or there. That's all the guy did. It wasn't, you know, but it was a great logo.
Mm-hmm.
And then our intro, which there will be better like visual to it, but the song's great.
Yeah.
But that was like, I think $150. So here it is.
My name is Ayman Hussein, and I am the director of 3D printing at Alquist. Here at Alquist, we focus on printing homes that are affordable in the community and for the people in the area. We range between 1,500 square feet and 1,300 for a single family.
Guys,
Large
look
scale
at this.
construction 3D printers.
So does that mean
to
that the
be
house
able
is
to
cheaper
create
since
affordable housing
no
in
manual
rural
labor?
I
urban
think
areas.
so. No, I'm sure they do a finish and everything on that thing.
So when we arrive on site, we typically work on a slab or a ribbon footing, and what we do is we set the printer up around where the house is going to go. We typically have around 5 or 6 pieces of equipment, and that is printer, and we also have a control panel to operate
Stop.
and monitor the print settings.
That's insane.
Okay,
And
thank
on
you.
the material
And
side,
so
we have
that's
a
one of them.
silent
The other
control
actually was
dry
laying the
material,
block and the mortar and
equipment
everything.
below that.
That's insane.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that eliminates, now there were still people there. But that
People there are basically just making sure nothing goes wrong.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. And so I just wonder how much of that will flow into your industry.
I'm probably quite.
Well, it's already there. I
yeah,
mean,
it's definitely there.
these knuckleheads go to AI and say, make me a marketing program for a store that sells boutiques and antique, and it spits. I've played a little. I don't have the paid version, but I went to one of them that was free and asked it questions
yeah.
about is it satanic and all that. And we had a long conversation.
It's a great conversation.
Yeah, it really was. Me and the Netflix thing where you can actually talk to it. They're too generic. I'm waiting until I can argue with them. That's what I want. My wife's like, I'll hit the button. I'll say Netflix stupid, and it'll look for every movie that says stupid in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I just wanted Netflix. I'm just being a dork. So your next life, children coming,
Dogs.
dogs forever.
Yeah, no kids.
How
I'm
many
not a
you get-
kid person.
Okay, that's not a bad thing.
Mm-mm.
I love that people know they are and know they're not, and don't and do. Don't
Yeah.
just bring them in because you bring them in.
Yeah, no, I have 3 nephews, loved them, but I was always glad they could go back to my sister.
You could
when-
visit and then send them back.
Take them to McDonald's, get them sugared up, and then I give them back to my sister, and then I'm out. So
Do they live locally as well?
everybody's back in Michigan.
Okay. Do you get up there often?
So I go home usually once a year.
Okay.
This year I'm going to go home, I think, in mid-December, although I haven't seen snow since 2009 when my mom died. So it's been a long time. So
Wow,
I
15 years.
Yeah, I wanted to go back just to experience some of what might feel like Christmas again in the Michigan cold weather.
That gets to your bones there, Jamie.
It's horrible.
Oh, I've been there.
Looking back, I don't know how I used to get dressed, put on a parka, put on boots to
I
go to
can't
work.
do it.
He
I
said the
can't
same
do it
thing.
anymore.
No. You've got to scrape off the car. You've got to turn it on and let it heat up for 15 minutes. You got to scrape off the ice. And then you're white knuckling it all the way.
Yep.
I don't miss those
You're
days.
trying to look through the little space in your window you can
Yes.
see for the first 10 minutes you're driving.
You have the snow that gets built up under the tires, and you hear the knocking noise when
Yep.
you're driving.
I have no idea what y'all are
but
talking
people
about.
don't realize, like coming from up north down here, when they say your blood thins out, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't go up. I take it to skiing. Like, I couldn't go up and go skiing again.
Yeah.
It's just miserable.
Yeah.
Have you seen the guy in Boston that cleans out or scrapes off the roads, and he laughs? Look for this, Dave. Just look for the Boston roads or snowplow driver, and he loves covering the snow over all the people's cars. And he's like talking, oh, you'll find that in spring. And he's like,
There's videos too of like, I mean, in northern Michigan, it's really hilly.
oh yeah.
And you can't, like, sometimes you can't get up the hill to get back home if you live on a
You mean like
road-
if you're walking or car?
on a car.
At my
Right.
So
cousin's
you're
house,
screwed. They'll shut
even
the
in New
road
Jersey,
down.
he couldn't drive up his driveway. You have to park on the road.
Yeah.
Even with
It's-
chains, y'all don't use chains up there or anything?
People use chains, but if it's full of ice, you're screwed.
I love watching all the people try to get to their cars and they start sliding away from it and everything. That's the stuff I drill down in on
Is this the guy
YouTube.
you're talking about, Brett?
Is
What is this? Yes, yeah.
the scumbag snowplow guy?
Listen to him. Make it large, Dave.
Hello, everybody.
Make it large. This is him.
Now for the fucking favorite part of my day.
Listen to him.
The fucking pissing people off day.
The guy just got done right there.
Day, because as you can see, I push shit back.
His language is a little
Fucking
bad.
road, baby. Oh, I'm sorry.
But at the
Listen.
same time,
They tell me to fucking push back the bankings. Alright. I'll push back the bankings. The bankings are already fucking 3-4 feet high. I push them back. You can obviously see there's some cars over here.
Listen what he says.
Well, guess what? Just watch where that snow goes fucking curling over. Jeez. You want to find your car? You come see me. I'll let you know where it is.
There you go.
You want to find your car?
You can find your car. Cause see me. You know, guy.
that's a legitimate problem out there, though, because you're not supposed to park on the road so they can plow.
Right. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure that the city wants to hear him, cussing them and laughing at them. There was this one guy, there was a couple, he's become somewhat famous. And there's guys literally plowing, ha, ha, ha. I'm now covering. I mean, he just covers them up, and these guys are just looking at him. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, no, it's in especially in northern Michigan, it's everything just shuts down in the wintertime. Like downtown stores, restaurants. I mean, it's a ghost town. You ever see that movie 30 Days of Night?
Oh, yeah?
That's what it's like.
Really?
It's dark, it's gray, it's frozen. There's nothing to do.
Is it liberal up there, or is it more country, like, backwoods, not backwoods, but, conservative,
Where my
blue collar?
in the part of northern Michigan where my family is at, it's definitely more conservative. But then you get to Traverse City. Have you ever heard of that? Traverse City is the largest city in northern Michigan.
Look that up,
Definitely
Dave.
more liberal. Beautiful, but it's definitely more liberal there.
Is there huge race relations issues?
No, but it's definitely like 95% white in northern Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah. But I had nothing but great experiences up there.
I mean, I love it in the summertime.
Yeah.
It's great.
Oh, that's when I normally went. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't, the December stuff you're talking about, I was not there much.
Do you want to go back with me and check it out?
No. But we can FaceTime. I'll do that for sure. So it's okay, Dave. You're good.
There you go.
Yeah.
Where is it? Okay, just click on it so I can get an idea of where Traverse City is. Oh, there's
Traverse-
Cleveland. Okay.
Traverse City's, but my family is north
What'd I say?
East.
Traverse?
Traverse.
Okay, Traverse. He corrected me twice. I got you.
But my family is northeast of Traverse City, so it's even farther.
Wow. That's cold.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want any more of that. All right, so let's see.
You wouldn't be walking around in your shorts and short sleeve
No,
button-ups.
not at all. What's your greatest fear? It can be business or personal.
Probably getting cancer again, a different form.
What's your biggest victory so far?
Not turning out like my parents.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, definitely not turning out like my parents, my dad specifically.
And what's the message you want the world to know?
I've had to adapt everywhere I've went. So the one thing I didn't mention earlier is, along with the rough childhood with my parents and stuff like that, I had a lot of issues getting made fun of growing up. I mean, I'm gay.
Yeah.
People hear me talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I dealt with a lot of bullying growing up. And then always being the new kid in high school, the 6 different high schools, there were some rough days during that time frame.
Because you had to, they almost had to figure it out. Did you know then?
Once you got
were
accepted, you were going somewhere different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I came out my junior year of high school, and I wasn't like, hey, I'm out.
Yeah.
It was, that's when I knew when I told my family. But to me, it's always been important for someone just to be who they are.
Yeah.
Just if you know who you are, own it. Be who you are. But I also don't believe in forcing who you are on others.
And I've known you for a little while. Gay doesn't define you.
No, I don't think that it does.
No, not one bit.
But I also at the same time don't shy away from it. But I thought that it was going to be a challenge.
Especially in Clay County.
Here, when I launched my business, I honestly thought that at first I was like, I don't know.
With rednecks like me. I mean, I'm dipping right now. I mean, seriously. I mean, my country riding big truck. Woo-hoo.
Well, and because of some of the stuff that I went through growing up, I thought this was going to be tough. I mean, because if living in Gainesville's super liberal. There was no issues. So I was worried, but not one person has made me uncomfortable. Not one. And so it's been a great experience. Now, people could be saying stuff behind my back. I don't know. But nobody has ever made me feel uncomfortable, has ever made me feel not welcomed or not accepted. So that's been honestly refreshing.
You know what it is? It's because this is just me speaking on my side. It's because you're just Jamy. It is a part of who you are, and obviously a big part. There's a loved one involved, and you live your life, but it's not like you carry a torch any more than I would as a heterosexual.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the cool thing. It's just, that's Jamy. You come in business wise, and that's what I like. I think if we're ever going to move agendas forward, and all of us get to understand each other, because if you'd have met me in high school, you know, you scared the crap out of me, you homos. What the hell? If they sneeze on me, do I catch it? You know?
Yeah. That's how it was.
I mean, let's
too.
get real. And it has been really a neat journey for me as I've grown and gotten to know people for people, color, ethnicity. And that's what I'm going to love about this, all about the grind. And I was hoping I would never, you know, but I was hoping you would get into that a little bit, because I want people to know that Clay County has a beautiful variety of people.
Absolutely.
In colors, in ethnicities, in gender, you know, and I mean, do I understand it all? Heck no. But here's the beauty, Clay County, of Jacksonville, America. You ain't got to understand it to accept.
Exactly.
And to just let people be people. You know, now, if you come slapping my ass all the time, you know, then that would be different. And that's what I love about America. And that's what I love about the people that I know. Because I have Would You Furniture and all, we have a very large following of 5 Points and areas in that area. And I have a lot of great friends that come and have a lot of neat conversations. I like getting into the uncomfortable, the homosexual conversations, the African American. I'm gonna get some people on here that we don't agree, and I not for shock value. I don't care what people think. It's for me to really understand and to go, you know what? That's one more that proves to me that that's not the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And then you get into and I'll end with this, because I am a believer, but I think I piss off half the church, you know, because I don't care, because I believe I have a big God. And as you sit there and yell at your wife behind the closed doors, or get on your porno behind the closed doors, quit talking about sins and sins and sins and sins and man, just live. I have enough problems focusing on me.
Yeah.
And if my God is who I know him to be, he'll take care of the rest. And it takes good care of me in my life. And I am glad to know you. I'm glad you sat down with us. I got a better understanding of who you are. I did want to say this before I got off. That is probably one of the best business names. I'm big on business names, Would You and all that.
Yeah.
And the Clay Social Media Group, it explains exactly. And I think that's one of the first things in business, is having a clear definition of who you are in 3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think you've done a wonderful job of that. And then that's all fine and dandy, but a business doesn't grow to 30 and where you're going beyond that, because I'll be a 31, 32. I'm coming really soon, without having the skill sets to bring results. And so I have seen it, and from a little bit of afar. I'm glad I got to sit with you and figure out it all about the grind. Is there one piece of advice to end with, and then you can play our go out, Dave? Okay. Is there one piece of advice to end with that helps that person? I always think about that one person that's hit the wall and is in the darker spot that maybe you or I have either come out of or just have experiences too, that you would give, like that one. And there may not be that, there's no magic pill, but I mean, how, you know, they're just ready to quit. It's not working. And, you know,
in my opinion, you've got to remember the why you started, because business is hard. Starting a business is really freaking hard. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. There's going to be days that you don't want to get out of bed because you're so frustrated. There's going to be times where you're on cloud 9 and you think that you can conquer the world. And when the bad times happen, you have to remember the why behind why you actually started.
I love it. This is All About the Grind. Brett Blankenship here with Jamy Smith, Clay Social Media Group. See you guys next week. Deuces.
Yeah, I learned to stay strong. Concrete in the dirt I was raised on.
That was awesome.
That was
I
awesome.
appreciate it. I had
This will
fun.
be